Here we go on a Wednesday. Look at that. We've made it to the middle of the week already, September 3rd, 2025. Nice to have you here up on Lake Wissota, where things are a little damp this morning after some rain passed through, and it's currently making its way through Wisconsin right now. We will, of course, get a full forecast from meteorologist Brittany Merlot coming up today. But right now, just pulling up the radar. From Marinette through Stevens Point and down toward La Crosse, a little south of La Crosse, basically Richland Center there. You're getting a little embedded thunderstorms in there as well, working its way through, and that's part of a cold front. Temperatures are just going to drop all day. So another little taste of fall to carry us through. On the program today, we'll talk a little Powerball fever with tonight's jackpot now topping $1 billion. We will talk in our climate check segment with Melissa Baldoff about the latest work of fiction out there, and it's from the Trump White House, a report that downplays the threat of climate change. An amazingly cherry-picked report from the White House. And it's time to go back to school in classrooms, in legislatures, in the Congress. We're going to talk to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen of WEAC about the bills that they are following. And, she's doing it for the kids. Peggy Wirtz-Olsen is going to tell us she's doing it for the kids. Kids like Parker Olson, her nephew, are going to be along. So look for all of that and more coming up starting at 6:06 across the Civic Media Radio Network and right here. We'll see you soon.
School zone, while 29% admitted to using their handheld cell phone. Motor vehicle crashes are the greatest threat for children. Nationwide, nearly 1 out of every 5 children 14 and younger killed in traffic crashes are pedestrians. While drivers must remain vigilant, pedestrian safety is a shared responsibility. The ABCs of school zone safety for drivers are A, avoid distractions. Stay focused on the road. No texting, eating, or multitasking while driving. B, brake for safety. Slow down and stay alert. School zones are unpredictable, so be ready to stop at a moment's notice. C, check for pedestrians and bicyclists. Watch for school zone signs, crossing guards, and anyone walking or biking. Pedestrians should also stay alert. Be aware of your surroundings and avoid using headphones or looking down at your phone when near traffic.
And remember, students can get half-price fare on Metro Transit. Kids age 5 to 17 and those still in high school can get half-price rides throughout the school year. All they have to do is sign up online, get a physical fast fare card, and verify their eligibility. That means showing school ID and some sort of personal ID. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Who's at quarterback? Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. College football. The Wisconsin Badgers host the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Will Danny O'Neal start at quarterback for Wisconsin, or is Billy Edwards ready after suffering a sprained knee last week? Luke Fickell.
Don't believe that Billy will be playing. He didn't practice. So obviously Danny would be the guy we would go with, and Hunter would be the backup, and we would just proceed from there.
NFL, the Packers at practice today. They host the Lions Sunday at 3:25. The Brewers play the Phillies tonight, game 2 of their 3-game series. Pat Murphy reviewed Monday's 10-8 loss to Philadelphia.
They got some of the best players in the game on the team, and they did a great job of exploiting us by getting the leadoff guy on base. You can attribute it to a lot of things, but you got to execute. You can't give up free bases. But the credit goes to the Phillies for their relentless offense, and they did what they had to do.
That's Brewers manager Pat Murphy. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local news, weather, and sports on air and streaming on the Civic Media app. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Lingering showers this morning, then mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. Our high in the upper 60s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 41 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and even cooler with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp 62.
Shop Furlough Mattress during our Labor Day sale. It's our biggest sale of the season. Get a free box spring with a mattress purchase, or upgrade to an adjustable base and save even more. At Furlough, every mattress we make is factory direct and custom made locally for you. And it's backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. Don't fall for the other guy's mattress gimmicks. Furlough has no middleman, so you'll get the comfort you want and save a whole lot of money. American made, locally crafted. Furlough.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Well, hey there, Wisconsin. Good morning. It is 6:06 on this Wednesday morning, September 3rd, 2025. It's another beautiful morning to have you here up north. A little damp, but still beautiful. Live from Lake Wissota, from wherever you're spending your mornings, listening across the Civic Media Radio Network, catching us on all the different platforms that are out there. Thanks for being along. Here we are, the middle of the work week already. And I got a question for you. What would you do with $1.3 billion if you could get it? And you wouldn't get it all at once. You'd get it over a period of years if you won tonight's Powerball jackpot, but still $1.3 billion. What would you do with that kind of money? It reminds me that there's so many people, more people than ever, for whom $1.3 billion would be chump change. In fact, in today's history lesson, we're going to be talking about the world's richest woman. She became the world's richest woman on this day in history, and we'll tell you what she's done with the money since Jeff Bezos and she divorced. So we'll talk about that in the history lesson and about the billions and billions and billions of dollars that some people have. So for you, what would you do with your measly $1.3 billion? Coming up on the program today, Vice President J.D. Vance is going to Minneapolis today, the scene of the recent church school shooting. There was not a similar big visit to Milwaukee after the tragedy of the flash floods there. Meanwhile, the president is talking about sending troops to Chicago. These three things are connected, and I will explain coming up in just about 15 minutes or so. Also coming up on the program today, along with talking about, what you do with a spare $1 billion, if you could find it here, we'll talk about going back to school, not just in the classrooms, but in Madison and Washington. The legislature and members of Congress, they're all back in class, as it were. We're going to talk to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen of WEAC about the bills that they're following in the legislature. They range from big picture revenue bills for the entire state to micromanaging things like cursive handwriting and what kinds of flags can and can't be displayed at school. The stuff that really makes those legislators earn that taxpayer-driven salary. In our climate check, we will talk about the trick to writing good fiction. Well, if you work in the Trump White House anyway, the ability to pick and choose which scientific facts match up with your politics. And that can help you create a very interesting work of fiction making the rounds in Washington, D.C. these days. A Trump administration report that calls the threat of climate change overblown. Then, of course, the scientists weighed in, and dozens of them pointed out the many errors, the cherry-picked data, the blatant misinformation that's in there. And we'll have Melissa Baldoff telling us more about that coming up. And we'll visit with Earl Ingram and so much more still ahead. Jimmy Koska, Brittany Merlot, even that Parker Olson. Yeah, he's here there. He's right there. There he is. Madison Studio A2. How are you?
I'm good. I'm here, which I wasn't sure I was until you told me I was here. So that's good.
I know. Well, see, that's why I feel the need to occasionally reset, get us oriented to person, place, and time. And
that's a good point. Yeah.
We are just where we need to be. So that's all that's coming up on the show today. And as usual, if you can't stick around for another 2 hours and 49 minutes and 45 seconds, well, hey, I got a solution for you. You can subscribe to this show as a podcast as well. Catch the parts that you're able to live, and then listen back later on as you're doing some chores, folding some laundry, whatever the case may be. And here's some of these wonderful conversations that we have with guests and more. Head over to Spotify or Apple and follow our program that way as a subscriber. And gosh, that's one way to go to keep in touch with everything we do. Like talking about what you do with a spare $1 billion. Tony up in Ashland puts on YouTube. I'd buy a pontoon boat so I can be like Captain Pat. Well, trust me, it's not $1 billion pontoon, but it's a nice start. If you don't have a pontoon, start with that, or a speedboat, a deck boat, a dinghy, whatever floats your boat, as it were. Let's see. Alicia says, "Oh gosh, I would pay off my house, fix it up, pay off my kids' college, and I think pay for all of the Kimberly class of 2026 college as well." Well, Alicia,
there you go.
We're hoping your ticket wins now. I wanted my ticket to win, but I mean, you've put it in writing, so
we'll hold you to this.
Yeah, you know what? I think she'd still have a little left over after paying for the Kimberly class of 2026 to go.
Maybe
to college. But that is a very cool thing. So thank you for those ideas as well. By the way, tomorrow on the program, Congressman Mark Pocan will be here. As I mentioned, Congress is back in session now, and Congressman Pocan has had an interesting August, doing a lot of work in his district, a lot of work in Derek Van Orden's district, since somebody there's got to be doing the work over there. And so we'll talk to Congressman Pocan about that. That's tomorrow morning here on the program. Brittany Merlot's state forecast. Well, first we're looking at an area of rain and some embedded thunder showers stretching from Iron Mountain, Michigan through Shawano, all the way down to Richland Center. And then cold air is surging in behind that front. And temperatures, she says, are going to feel more like October, well below normal temps on the way, wind chills even. We've already had our highs for today at midnight, and now that front is coming through and bringing the colder air behind it. Temperature is going to be dropping by and large for a big chunk of the day. So her forecast for the first part of the day, steady rain and thunder through midday in the southeastern half of Wisconsin as that line moves on. Spotty showers are still possible everywhere else, breezy and much cooler. Highs today only in the mid-50s in the northwestern part of the state, mid-60s southeast, a northwest wind at 15 to 25 miles an hour. Clearing skies tonight and noticeably crisp, she says. Brittany says lows tonight up north will be in the mid-30s to the low 40s south with a northwest wind at 10 to 15 miles an hour. And again, Brittany Merlot will have more details coming up. Tony adds on YouTube now about Alicia's promise to pay for college tuition. Tony says YouTube comments are legally binding, by the way. So Alicia responds, well, then I got to move on to Kaukauna. Now that's, you got to appreciate that. If you're willing to pay for the college tuition for the kids in Kimberly and Kaukauna, well, that just says you have enough money to do that. That's really all that really says.
Yeah.
I was a little late getting into gear today, getting the headset on. Parker was only getting moderately nervous. But remember how I said yesterday that September is Build a Better Breakfast Month?
Oh, yes.
I did. I built a better breakfast today.
There you go.
Imagine breakfast wraps with some ham and some cheese and some pre-made scrambled eggs and a little bit of hot sauce, and you roll that up in a flour tortilla, and it's so delicious. But please notice that I said pre-made scrambled eggs, and that is the key to this particular Build a Better Breakfast, because I went and picked up some groceries yesterday, and I haven't done this for a long time, but just completely lost track of what bags I was carrying. And as I put the bags down on the counter, I realized I put that one bag down a little harder than I probably should have. And I opened it up, and sure enough, 4 of the eggs had cracked.
Yeah.
Well, okay, there goes those. Well, wait a minute. Don't throw them away. You can still do something with them. So I quickly, after putting the rest of the groceries away, scrambled up some eggs and had them waiting for me this morning to make those breakfast wraps. So I built a better breakfast completely by accident.
Kind of forced yourself into that one, huh?
Forced myself into that and delayed pretty much everything else that was going on this morning. But somehow managed to get here. So
You said you almost got a full 8 hours of sleep, though. That's pretty impressive.
that's how tired I was yesterday.
Yeah.
From, it was our first full day and full night after the kids and the grandkids had left.
Okay.
And those had been some late nights and some early mornings when the 3-year-old gets up with the 6-year-old, and you got to make sure that pajamas aren't wet, and maybe they are, and you got to get a change of clothes and all that fun stuff. Find out which channel is Bluey on, and yeah, get the kids entertained. So yeah, last night was, it's when you wake up after 8 hours and you're still tired, you're like, how much longer would I have slept without an alarm?
Yeah.
That is saying something. So I'm glad I got the sleep. I could use a little bit more. You can sign up for our newsletters at Up North News by heading to upnorthnewswi.com. Click subscribe in the banner at the top of the homepage. And in the newsletter today includes a link to an article entitled 9 Wisconsin Stereotypes that are actually pretty accurate, which, makes sense. Stereotypes are there for a reason. And I'll grab a couple of them here. Goodbyes are extra long. You're familiar with the Midwest goodbye.
I am very guilty of the Midwest goodbye.
Oh, you're guilty of it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sherry's a master of it. And I've just tried to learn to be patient, because when it's like, if it's time to go, you slap your hands on your lap and you go,
well,
oh yeah, it's time to go. Friday nights are for fish fry and supper clubs. Yes, again, guilty. Deer hunting is a season. It's its own holiday in some school districts. Yes, very much so. Brat fries are a way of life. Yes. And yeah, we really do love cheese that much.
Yeah.
So there are several others in there as well. So through our newsletter, you can get to the website article and learn about those Wisconsin stereotypes. Although when I say, oh yeah, I did not know. This has been a thing for a while. Okay. I'm a little late on this particular meme train. But the phrase, oh yeah. One of my daughters was showing me some either TikToks or reels of the oh yeah challenge. Now, there are many different ways to say that and many different ways to spell it. But I have after, I think you folks have heard me for years saying, we got to get coffee cups back. We got to get t-shirts back, but we got to find just the right thing. It's going to be Hoya. We're going to put Hoya, because I realized as first she showed me that. And then for the rest of their visit, as something would happen, you think you're just saying, yeah, but you're saying, oh yeah. And then they'd go, oh yeah. You realize you start hearing it from other people as well, where it's, oh yeah. And now it's gonna bug the rest of you for the rest of the day. I defy you to go through the entire day and not hear at least one other person when they think they're just saying okay or yeah, and they're going, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not oh yeah. It comes out like oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's an H on there.
There's definitely an H, and you got to, again, spelling and pronunciation matters. It's not Hoya. It's not Hooya. It's none of that. It's an oh yeah. It's an oh yes, but it comes out oh yeah.
I will start a counter and let you know at the end of the show how many Hoyas we got.
Oh, and just go through the day, just that's something everybody does. It just is here in the Midwest. So that's what we've got. That's one of our, that's not a stereotype. That's just part of the vernacular, Yeah. To answer a little bit of trivia from the top of the program here, Mackenzie Scott became the world's richest woman on this day in 2020 after her divorce from Jeff Bezos. He's still the world's richest man, but in the divorce, she became the world's richest newly single woman. You have to stick around a little longer to find out just how much she started with after the divorce and how much she still got even after giving away literally billions of dollars. And also what J.D. Vance's visit today to a Minneapolis church has in common with Donald Trump's desire to send military troops onto the streets of another American city. From the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend a part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
chaos is frustrating. If you're not sure what others are saying in conversations because of loud background noise, why not call Madison Hearing Aid Center? 608-249-4077 is their number. They offer fast and flexible appointments. Talk to Jim or Sarah. They're helping people change their lives with better hearing. Get a free hearing test online at MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. That's MadisonHearingAidCenter.com. 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison. Tell them John and Gordy sent you.
Green and Gold football is back at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Catch the games on 14 large screen TVs. Join meat and jersey raffles at halftime during regular season games and enjoy half-price wings and beer bucket specials. And the Lazy Oaf is a great place for lunch with daily specials, soups made from scratch, and fast, friendly service. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road. Find specials, menus, and more at lazyoaflounge.com.
Are you ever questioning when life will slow down? Are you ever thinking of just relaxing and enjoying the simple things? All of this is possible, even while still being in the workforce. Worthington, Minnesota is a town growing, yet it's nothing like metro life. Professional and labor jobs, a beautiful lake, bike trails, recreation, acres of public hunting, festivals, and great people. Slow down. We're just a short drive away, so come join us. Worthington, it's worth a look.
Now is the moment we've been waiting for. With new treatments emerging in the fight against Alzheimer's and all other dementia, now is the time for hope and for action. Held in over 600 communities nationwide, the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's is the world's largest fundraiser for care, support, and research to fight the disease. So get out, get moving, and join WMDX at the Walk to End Alzheimer's on Sunday, October 5th at Warner Park in Madison.
Welcome back at 6:22 on the text line here from Jim in Brookfield. Good morning, Pat. You look and sound well, so the CPAP must be working. Are you going through a lot of distilled water? Thank you, Jim, for the note. That's very kind of you. I think the 8 hours of sleep probably helped more than anything at this point.
Sleep is good.
Yeah, but again, more sleep would be helpful. But the CPAP, yes, it is working out great. Thank you very much. It is just, again, this thing I thought would be claustrophobic, and it has actually turned out to be just something almost comforting. It's like, okay, focus on your breathing and just fall asleep. And what do you know? I focus on my breathing and I just fall asleep. That thing I've been telling myself to do for 30 years. I just needed something on my face to just go, stay here. Stay on the pillow and think about your breathing. And sure enough, it works. As far as the distilled water, for folks that don't know, and I certainly didn't know, but yeah, there's a little water tank. You put a little distilled water in it every evening, and that way it provides like a little bit of humidity in it. It regulates the humidity, so you're not just sucking in dry air. And you have to remember to do that, because once or twice now, I've woken up in the middle of the night and it's like something doesn't feel right, and you realize that the water tank has gone dry. But again, I say all this, why are you talking about CPAP so much? Because I talked so much beforehand about I don't want to do this, I'm in denial, etc. So if you suspect sleep apnea is a thing, then have somebody check in on it. And yeah, I'll go through a gallon of distilled water every couple of weeks. Small price to pay for getting a little bit more sleep. So thank you again, Jim, for the note. I appreciate it very much. Again, tomorrow, Congressman Mark Pocan will be joining us, as will Sean O'Malley, talking about your money and the markets. We'll talk to Joe Zepecki tomorrow. Todd Alba, Chad Holmes, all going to be stopping by. But of course, we have plenty to get to today, including word that the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, is planning a visit to Minneapolis, specifically, of course, to deal with and show some respect for the victims of the recent church school shooting. at Annunciation Catholic Church, and the vice president's office talks about, meeting with some of the families, etc. And of course, the vice president has also offered up thoughts and prayers. Well, again, that's a choice that you make, is to offer up thoughts and prayers rather than any concrete action that could make our kids safer. There is, of all the news coverage around it, this line I want to pick on because it's rather emblematic of my hangups with the media today. Okay. The paragraph reads like this, and it's from the website Bring Me the News. The shocking incident, it's not that shocking in America these days, I hate to say. The shocking incident has sparked an outpouring of grief and demands for action, with Democratic leaders in Minnesota calling for gun control measures, including a ban on assault weapons, while Republicans have criticized Democrats for politicizing the mass killing. Now, again, that's a choice to use that language. Republicans have criticized Democrats for politicizing the mass killing, rather than feeding into the Republican talking point. That line could have just as easily said Democratic leaders calling for gun safety measures, including a ban on assault weapons, while Republicans have continued to oppose gun safety measures for about 25 years. That's what that line could have said, to, in fact, be more factual. It's not fact-based to say Democrats are politicizing the mass killing. It is fact-based to say that Republicans have been blocking gun safety measures since they got rid of the assault weapons ban back in around 2004. And again, that's a choice that they make. I took note, of course, that the vice president is coming to this church school in Minneapolis. We did not see a similar high-profile visit to Milwaukee after flash flooding went through the city of Milwaukee. What we're getting instead is all this tough talk from Trump and Vance about, not just thoughts and prayers, but let's get tough on shooters by putting troops in the streets. And the troops in the streets have not made a damn bit of difference in Los Angeles or Washington, D.C., and they can say it all day long that they've suddenly made the streets safer. They've been picking up garbage. They've been wasting our tax dollars instead of putting resources into crime prevention and law enforcement. Their idea of action is to put more guns on the street, to put more soldiers on the street. And although Trump talked the other day about putting troops on the streets of Chicago, he's also talked about the same thing in Minneapolis. So there'll be this very emotional visit by the vice president today, but it will be followed up by the usual tough talk about, well, we got to put troops on the streets. But more guns and more thoughts and prayers are not going to solve this problem. And Democrats need to stop playing nice about this and need to call out Republicans for their perverted definition of the Second Amendment. The meaning of the Second Amendment has been completely lost over the past 50 years or so. The well-regulated militia. And instead, folks are afraid to do anything. Even though when we actually did things like the assault weapons ban for 10 years, it worked. Democrats, the people are on your side. Talk tougher, promise strong action about getting weapons of war off our streets and keeping our children safe, and calling out Republicans who only want to put more guns on the streets and more troops on the streets for offering up nothing real that will keep our kids safe. Nothing real. Permanent troops on our streets. Well, that's just a police state. And I know the Milwaukee Police Union chief basically said, I welcome the troops. Troops can come to Milwaukee. That's because that's the tough talk thing you can say. What he can't say is, I'm sick and tired of Republicans in the legislature and in Congress underfunding our needs in Milwaukee and America's other cities for partisan and racial reasons. If you want to be more honest, say that, because that's what actually exists in our country right now, and it's not going to be fixed until we start giving the voters what they really want, which is not thoughts and prayers, not more guns. They want action. Today's history lesson is coming up next. You're Up North.
Civic Media. Learn more at civicmedia.us/advertise.
Right now, soybeans gaining a little ground in the marketplace. I'm PM Yankee, starting you off before the opening bell on a Wednesday morning. Quick look at what's happening in agribusiness news. Wisconsin farmers say 84% of their soybeans look good to excellent. That's an increase in confidence compared to last week. But we can't see confidence in the marketplace unless our international buyers come in. John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, says, unfortunately, with China, that's not happening.
Two different things kind of working in the bean market as well. You know, this finishing weather has not been very good. In fact, I was on the road through Indiana and things this weekend. There was a couple spots that the bean crop was already turned and it was dry. And that's definitely taken the top end off this yield. So we're probably going to see the supply tighten up as we go further down the road unless things would change dramatically in the weather. But then on top of that, though, even though supply might get fairly tight, our biggest customer is still China, and they have not stepped in and bought U.S. beans. They're filling their bean needs for the fall here when it's typically our window. They're getting them from Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay.
Yeah, that is the issue. John Heinberg, market advisor with Total Farm Marketing out of West Bend, pointing out China still is not buying U.S. beans. Despite the fact that soybeans are up a little, what about the rest of the markets? I've got that next.
At the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection, they know your business has always been something special. Now you can let customers know it too, in an instant, with the red and yellow Something Special from Wisconsin sticker. Joining the program gives you access to supplier and distribution information, marketing support, and a community of like-minded Wisconsin businesses. Best of all, you'll let people know that your work is done with care, quality, and love. You've always been something special. Visit somethingspecialfromwisconsin.com to make it official. Whether it's finally getting that blue ribbon or enjoying too many carnival rides, we all have memories of the fair. Here's your chance to share those stories in our Everybody Has a Fair Story contest. The Midwest Farm Report is teaming up with the Wisconsin Association of Fairs as they look for the Grand Champion Fair Story. Enter the Fair Story contest for a chance to win a cash prize at MidwestFarmReport.com.
Yesterday in Chicago, the barrel cheese was unchanged. 40-pound block cheese dropped a penny to $1.76.5, while Double A butter dropped 3 1/4 cents, $2.01 1/4 per pound. This morning, the October Class 3 milk that goes into cheese, that's down a nickel at $17.60. Right now, December new crop corn's unchanged at $4.24. November new crop soybeans are up to at $10.43. December wheat unchanged $5.28. July new crop wheat unchanged at $5.64 a bushel. There's your market snapshot as we get rolling on a Wednesday morning. More at MidwestFarmReport.com. I am Farm Director Pam Yankee.
Reach, engage, grow with Civic Media. Log on civicmedia.us/advertise.
Lingering showers this morning, then mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. Our high in the upper 60s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 41 for a low tomorrow. Mostly sunny and even cooler with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp 62.
Where working people come to talk. It's the Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network. Join me for an honest approach to the issues American working families care about. No talking points, no focus groups. Get ready for a heavy dose of democracy, fairness, grit, and no apologies. It's current affairs from a working class labor perspective. Facts are center, science is real, and everyone gets a seat at the table. The Rick Smith Show, weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Amicus, a law review with Jim Santel.
Public schools and private schools, when the people who are sitting to the left and to the right of me in classes, and when the professors and the TAs and the staff don't all look the same, education is promoted. You get a better sense of what the world is all about.
Sometimes a history lesson can tell you
It was the 3rd of September,
what day it is today.
That day I'll always remember. Yes, I will.
That would be the Temptations, starting off with the 3rd of September, the day I'll always remember, in the song Papa Was a Rolling Stone, released this date in 1972. Well, not released this date, but they sang about this date in 1972 when the song came out. Welcome to today's history lesson.
I hate when a song references a date and it doesn't come out on that date.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
Missed
Didn't quite work
opportunity.
out that way. Yeah. You know what? It's every year after that, you know.
True.
And we could collect. We've done this a few times with what was it? The Ode to Billy Joel. We got Convoy. We got to get all the songs that reference. Oh, we've got Earth, Wind, and Fire coming up the 23rd night of September. That's coming up. You know, let's work on that. Let's put that on our to-do list for one of these.
Do you remember?
Do you remember?
First night?
Was it 21st?
I think it's
21st night. Yeah. It's early. What am I going to tell you? Let's see. The Treaty of Paris was signed in Paris on this day. How convenient. In 1783, ending the Revolutionary War between the U.S. and Great Britain. On this day in 1929, consider this the final day of the Roaring Twenties, because on this day in 1929, the Dow Jones Industrial Average reached an all-time high, but then in the next month would come the crash of 1929, ushering in the Great Depression. There are people that really wanted this to be the Roaring Twenties as well, you know, where everybody was just carefree and life went well. COVID kind of took care of that on the front half, and other current events, shall we say, took care of it in the middle. If we're going to have a Roaring Twenties, it's going to have to happen in the second half of the decade.
I'll tell you, it's going to be a different kind of roaring.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody's going to accuse this decade of being roaring. That's for sure. The number one song this week in 1966 was by Donovan.
Superman or Green Lantern ain't got nothing on me.
Donovan's Sunshine Superman was the number one song for 1 week in 1966. A lot of good songs as I was looking on either side of that I'm sure will be hitting in the weeks to come. Let's see. On this day in 1928, Hall of Fame slugger Ty Cobb recorded his 4,189th and final career hit. The all-time hit record of 4,189 would stand until Pete Rose broke it in 1978. Both Pete Rose and Ty Cobb, not real nice people. But they could see ball, hit ball in the baseball vernacular.
That's true.
That's
very true. One of those people is a little more highly regarded than the other.
I don't even know which one you're talking about. No.
I think maybe it's recency bias, but to me, it would appear that Ty Cobb is more highly thought of than Pete Rose. That is probably recency bias, though.
That is because at the time, again, like a lot of athletes, you know, people admired his abilities, but you know, being a drunken brawler and being, you know, a racist and everything else, it would kind of get in the way of some other folks admiring them. So again, see ball, hit ball, not necessarily be a nice person. On this day in 1957, Milwaukee Braves pitcher Warren Spahn set a record for a left-hander with the most shutouts, his 41st career shutout in a win over, appropriately, the Chicago Cubs. Warren Spahn still holds the record for the most career wins by a left-handed pitcher. Wow, that's amazing. He was so good. What was the old saying? Spawn insane and pray for rain. Milwaukee had, I mean, man, did they have a pitching rotation once upon a time. Happy birthday to Al Jardine of the Beach Boys, one of the co-founders. He's 83 years old today. You're going, wait, I thought the Beach Boys were a bunch of cousins or siblings or something. Yes, but Al Jardine was also a high school friend and football teammate of Brian Wilson, who recently passed away. The late Glenn Bell was born this day in 1923. I can't quiz Parker on this because he sees the notes ahead of time, but I think I got Greg on this last year when I said, what was Glenn Bell known for? And especially if you consider the name Bell, his last name is Bell, Greg Bell. Or Glenn Bell, I'm sorry, Glenn Bell, who was born this day in 1923. He founded Taco Bell. Taco Bell.
I didn't know that there was someone actually behind that. I figured.
Yes. Yep. It was Glenn Bell, who passed away in 2010. Happy 30th birthday to eBay. eBay, which stood for Electronic Bay, I guess, okay, was founded by Pierre Omidyar on this day in 1995. eBay was such a thing in the early days of, the .com bubble and everything. And it's still around, but I mean, it was everything once upon a time. And so with Parker coming along after eBay had already been on the scene, I think it's a fair question to say, have you ever used eBay?
I have not. No, eBay, Craigslist, what's her name?
Angie's List.
All that. Angie's List. That's it. Yes.
Yeah.
All that stuff is kind of a mythical realm of the yesteryear internet for me.
Which at the time was, life-changing. Like, wait a minute, I can go to this site and I can, bid a lower price. And if nobody beats me, I get the stuff. I mean, I have a set of golf clubs in the shed. When I thought I was going to take up golf, I went on eBay. I found some golf clubs. It turns out the golf clubs are defective. They're just not very good. No matter,
certainly the clubs.
Yeah, it's the clubs. It's got to be eBay's fault.
I tell myself all the time.
Yeah, I picked up some other things on there. I picked up, let's see, I want to say it was an Eau Claire Braves scorecard that Joe Torre had autographed. This was back when Torre was manager of the Yankees at the time. That I thought, this will be a nice thing. It's still in the basement somewhere. But I mean, other people made a living out of eBay. I mean, they would, collect various things, they'd get people's antiques or rummage or other little knickknacks, put it up on eBay. And I'm sure people still do it today, just not to nearly the degree. Like Tony says on YouTube, I used eBay a lot, but then Amazon replaced it.
Yeah, and probably a Facebook Marketplace too.
Facebook Marketplace probably played a role, and eBay got to, like a lot of things, it kind of lost its innocence. There'd be either some scammers on there, or it just got kind of corporatized, I guess you could say. Yeah. But let's see, what does Adam say here? eBay is still a great place to buy items you might have missed out on, like the Bob Uecker commemorative pin from the Celebration of Life game. Thank you, Adam. Yes, eBay still has a role to be played today. So I'm not saying it's not being used. It is. I'm just saying it was everywhere once upon a time. And again, that was founded 30 years ago today. Happy birthday to Don Brewer. He's the drummer and founder of Grand Funk Railroad, talking about the Hodel Detective being out of sight. Grand Funk Railroad still on my top 20 list of favorite groups. If I were to have to just listen to the same 20 CDs, well, vinyl albums, whatever you kids call it today. Grand Funk Railroad's greatest hits might be one of those. I am shocked to inform everybody here on the birthday list. Charlie Sheen has made it to 60 years old. I did not have that on my bingo card of Charlie Sheen making 60. That many years ago, when he didn't just wash out of 2.5 Men. I mean, he imploded. He didn't burn bridges. He napalmed those bridges. And he is somehow still with us after all these years. And he's younger than me. But I'm like, happy birthday, Charlie Sheen. You made it to 60.
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. Happy birthday to Jennifer Page, who had a hit half her life ago with Crush, but she's 52 years old today. On this day in 1935, Sir Malcolm Campbell reached a speed of 304 miles an hour on the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, becoming the first person to drive an automobile more than 300 miles an hour this day in 1935, which is pretty impressive. You think 1935, you're still thinking like Fred Flintstone. It's all foot-powered cars and maybe a horse was pulling it, but no, you could do 300 miles an hour.
That is a very good point. I don't know how applicable that is. I don't know how often I see cars going 300 miles an hour, but I'm glad that we did it.
Again, technology. The technology was there. From Tony on YouTube, back to Charlie Sheen. Could Dr. Lyerly please explain how he's alive? We'll put that on the list for her Friday visit, the physiological explanation about Charlie Sheen still being with us. Let's see. Culture Club had a record release this day in 1982.
Do you really want to make me cry? Do you really want to hurt?
And let's see. Let's go up to 1990, where George Michael released his second solo album, Listen Without Prejudice. And let's see. I believe Praying for Time. Is that what we have queued up on this one?
I do have it. I have both of these queued up.
Do you have? Oh, you have. Okay. Well, let's do a little bit of Praying for Time.
Okay, let's do that.
It was a really good album from George Michael. And then he had, much more of a pop hit with Freedom 90. I want to caution you. This is a clip off the George Michael album released this day in 1990. Todd Alba is not about to show up here in the studio. I sometimes wonder how many people are listening to the Todd Alba show when he starts off with this and just play the song, play the full song. Because I know people thought that when I used to play Stevie Ray Vaughan at the top of the hour. It's like, right, look, could you not yap? Just let the song play out. You know,
let it happen, please.
Yeah. Todd Alba's not coming to the studio. Melissa Kay is, however, from WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids. How's Melissa?
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am okay. How are you?
Very good. So nice to see you. How's Lilu?
You know what? They asked to come out of their cage yesterday.
Passed you a little note? Or
Yeah, no. Stood in front of the door because I had to leave in the middle of the day. And when I came back, they came out of their little cave and stood in front of the door and just looked around.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Just stood there. And when I came close, they moved away and went and hid. And I opened the door and then they came out right away. So
Well,
I think we're making progress.
You are making progress. Look at the bonding that's going on here.
Yeah.
This is awesome. Hey, on this day in 2020, we talked earlier about Mackenzie Scott, philanthropist, ex-wife of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Because of the divorce, she at that moment became the world's richest woman, worth $68 billion. And to date, she's given away at least 20 billion of that. Imagine having the power to give away $20 billion with much more still to come. It just leads into our question here, Melissa, with the Powerball jackpot tonight being 1.3 billion. What would you do? What would be some of the first things you'd do if you won $1 billion?
Well, I'd pay off all my debt, probably all my family's debt. And I'd travel the world. And then I'd sit down and start doing good things with it.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
Just the whole notion of being able to do good things with a big old pile of money. And
set up scholarships for kids to go to school and put music back in schools. And there's just so much you could do.
And Mackenzie Scott's done a lot of that and has gotten a lot of credit, by the way, as well, for the way in which she's done it with a lot fewer strings attached to those billions that she's giving out. We're talking to Melissa Kay from WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids. I'm Pat Kreitlow from Lake Wissota. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. There we go. I'm assuming you can hang around till 6:59.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So, well, look at that. Somebody showing up at the door going, "Let me out." Let me out.
That was so cute. I was like, are you really? Is that what you're asking? Is you want to come out?
Wow. See.
And then they did.
Do we have a rough idea how old Lilu is?
No, actually, Quinn asked me that this weekend, my little niece. And I don't know. All I know from the shelter is that they are not a senior and they're not
adolescent.
Teen.
Okay.
They're an adult pigeon.
An adult pigeon. Okay. No, makes perfect sense. All right. We got 2.5 minutes. I'm going to get a little coffee. You think about what else we could do with $1 billion and what else you want to talk about for Wisconsin Rapids stuff. And I'll see you in just a bit.
All right.
How you doing? Oh, Arthur, great to see you. What are you doing in the studio?
Well, I need to talk to you about doing a commercial.
Okay. Well, to get a commercial on the air here, you just go down to the sales department. It's right next to the bathroom.
I don't think you understand.
Oh, I understand plenty. You salespeople drink a lot of coffee. That's why the bathroom's right there.
Right, but I need to have you make a commercial about commercials.
Wait. A commercial about a commercial? I don't follow.
I want to tell potential business owners out there how to contact me to get a commercial on WMDX.
Okay, I get it. Okay, let's come up with something. Let's see. Business folks can contact you directly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's the email, huh?
Okay, so it's sales@WMDXradio.com.
Oh, wait, run that by me again.
Sales@WMDXradio.com. So we could put all that together and get into a commercial, get on the air soon?
Arthur, my friend, I think we just did.
Advertise on WMDX Radio. Email Arthur, sales@WMDXradio.com.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Big political news dropped the Friday before Labor Day weekend in Wisconsin, with right-wing state Supreme Court Justice Rebecca Bradley announcing that she will not be seeking re-election to another 10-year term on the court. In her statement announcing the decision, Bradley bemoaned a, quote, shift from thoughtful, principled judicial service toward bitter partisanship, personal attacks, and political gamesmanship. If you've followed Bradley's time on the bench, you couldn't help but note the hypocrisy in that statement, because that's the exact kind of extreme, toxic approach she's brought to the Wisconsin Supreme Court over the past decade. But beyond that, this sets up yet another open race for state Supreme Court in Wisconsin. This one, however, will be a bit different than recent races where majority control of the court was on the line. In this race, liberals will have the opportunity to expand their majority from 4-3 to 5-2 if candidate Chris Taylor, a former Democratic state legislator, wins the election in spring 2026.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation.
We are well into sports season now here for fall sports. Baseball, of course, continues, and the Brewers will be taking on the Phillies. Coverage begins tonight at 6:05 on several Civic Media stations, but we're moving into football season as well. The Wisconsin Badgers football season is underway, and their second game of the season is coming up this Saturday afternoon against Middle Tennessee. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock on stations in Richland Center, Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, and Ripon. Head over to the Civic Media website to learn more about that. By the way, on the topic of sports, Don corrected me out of Waukesha. Pete Rose broke Ty Cobb's hit record in 1985. He broke the consecutive hits record back in 1978. And I remember 1978 sounded weird with me at the time, but I forgot to double check my work. And thank you, Don, for doing that. Melissa Kay is back with us from 105.5 WIRI and 97.5 WFHR in Wisconsin Rapids, where has the hangover finally settled down from the 85th birthday parking lot party, or do you still have other festivities going on?
Well, we do have the Downtown Grand Affair coming up. We're going to be at a live remote on Sunday in downtown Wisconsin Rapids, where a lot of like businesses will have booths, will have stuff for sale, we'll have just like fun and entertainment and music, and Color Guard's going to be there, so it's going to be a good time.
Nice. As I was filling up the coffee cup, something caught my eye in the kitchen. I've got a visual for you. That's maybe not so much used for Parker, and I know that's great radio, but I'm going to describe what this is. It looks like a metal mixing bowl with a long handle on it.
Yeah.
And kind of a strainer at the bottom of it. So it's not really a mixing bowl, it's more like a strainer. And then a crank at the top. And then you turn this crank over and over again as these blades whir at the bottom. Can you guess what was made in the Kreitlow kitchen last night using this contraption?
Scrambled eggs.
No, this was not the scrambled eggs one.
Rice potatoes?
Rice potatoes is a good guess, but no, this is an applesauce maker. And
Oh.
our neighbor gave us a bag of apples, which and Sherry made the most amazing apple crisp. But then she also boiled a bunch of the apples, and then you put the boiled apple mixture in here. You crank this thing, and it strains out just the applesauce and leaves all the peelings and things like that behind. And so we had
That's
some
cool.
we had some delicious.
Homemade applesauce. My mom had one that attached to the side of the table with a clamp.
Oh yeah, yes. Yeah, my grandma had one
Almost like
that.
a meat grinder, but
Yes.
for
Oh my
applesauce.
goodness, meat grinders.
I
haven't
had
seen a
one of
meat
those.
grinder. Did you?
I
My
did. I don't know
grandma
what happened
did.
to it.
Yes, I remember that. Oh my boy, this stuff.
Make
yeah.
your own hamburgers.
Yep.
It's the best.
Yep. I haven't seen a good pasta maker in a while, though. Some people have those big stand mixers, and you can put a pasta
They can
maker attachment on
They
there.
have an attachment on. That's what I do with my $1 billion. Buy
I would.
myself some
There you
pasta
go.
making stuff.
You would buy them. You wouldn't make a company that makes them so you could sell them.
Well, no,
Make
they're
more billions.
But
yes,
they already sell it.
Not very well.
right. Yeah.
Obviously, good point, Parker.
Oh, Adam notes the applesauce maker. He says great for tomato sauce too, Pat.
Oh, yeah.
Never
Mhm.
even thought of
That's a
that.
good point.
Making your own. Oh, you know where that gets me?
Oh
You
boy.
know what's on my list? Making my own salsa. I want to make my own salsa.
But you don't really need. I mean, I guess you do need tomato paste for that, but I don't know. My mom didn't. My mom used to make her own salsa. Be careful with the cilantro.
Oh, see, now that's the point. Sherry does not like cilantro at all,
Oh, so
and
you wouldn't
and
put
I don't,
any-
and I don't like my salsa like super chunky. I want
Mm.
flavor, but I don't necessarily want the
So you
chunks. I mean,
do
if I,
almost want a paste, then that would
yeah,
work.
because I mean, if I'll get a side order if I want something chunky. I want salsa, which is more like a condiment, essentially. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Boy, look what we're doing with our $1 billion here. We're buying kitchen appliances.
Have a better breakfast month, guys.
Way to think big. All right, let's think bigger for the $1 billion. I mean, for me, the big one. Once you set up the foundation, to help other people, let's be self-indulgent for a moment here. First and foremost, for me, it's travel. I mean, I'll keep the house as a home base, but I'm not going to see it very much. Put it that way.
Right.
What about you? Would you travel?
Oh, absolutely. I would want to travel as much as possible, see as much of this beautiful planet that we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
And then try to do things to help save it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Enjoy a little bit and then save a little bit. Parker, what about you? $1 billion. Think big.
Oh man, think big. I don't know. Buy the Brewers off of Mark Anastasio.
It was going to be sports related.
That's a good one. That's great. No, I love that. Now, look, some people don't need $1 billion, and some people don't even need eBay. And of course, I'm talking about Luke Mathers, who is on here talking about eBay because we had one person talk about getting those euchre commemorative pins from the Celebration of Life a couple of weeks back, and he got that on eBay. Mathers puts up here, who needs eBay? My mom brought me one from the game. And then later, Parker, you want that sausage racing cribbage board that they did, right? Yeah. And of course, Luke pops back up on the text line. I have one of those too. LOL. Of course he does. Of course he does.
Apparently, Luke is the guy to know. Or his
No,
mother.
or his mom. Yeah.
Yeah. He's handsome, he's capable, and he has the cool stuff.
Yes, he has a
I want to go to
a
Luke's
cool
house.
and generous mom. That's the way it works. What else am I missing from the Wisconsin Rapids area that you guys are up to?
It's just a lot of live radio, and we've got more events coming up. I don't have my list in front of me, but we have
But there's always
parade.
something.
There's always something.
Oh,
Yep. Lita was out and flapping.
Oh, see again. We're taking credit for this. This is,
Yep,
I mean,
you
Lilu,
should.
you got earphones in, so I know Lilu's not hearing any of this, right? But
Well,
but
they're
it's
hearing me.
Is hearing you and how animated you are talking to us. And so once again, we're gonna take the credit for giving Lilu, some reason to be out there flapping away, wanting to
Reasons
take
come
part.
out of the cage. Yes.
Yes. Make it a very interactive radio show here. Melissa Kay, you can catch her on WFHR and WIRI out of Wisconsin Rapids. And Melissa, thanks for visiting with us today. Hope you have a great day.
Always good to see you.
Oh, always good to have you around as well. Take care. In our next hour, we will, of course, continue talking about some of the headlines that have been in the news today. And we will also have our homeroom segment with Peggy Wirtz-Olsen from WEAC. And then in our 8 o'clock hour, we'll be talking to Melissa Baldoff with our climate check report. From Lake Wissota, I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Okie dokie. There we go. Thank you, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. And you get that new Wausau person all trained in here, and we'll figure out how much we get to play with you again in the future.
Yes, I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, Melissa.
Have a good day, guys.
Yep. Bye.
See you, Melissa. You too.
Bye.
With his party ranks calling for the same, ABC's Jay O'Brien's on Capitol Hill.
Massey telling me yesterday about President Trump that he thinks he can make this, quote, go away by telling people there's nothing there. But Massey saying this is, quote, bigger than President Trump. In the next few hours, we expect dozens of women who say they were victimized by Jeffrey Epstein to rally up here on Capitol Hill to turn up the pressure even more on lawmakers.
In Beijing, a massive military parade showing off weapons and troops to world leaders, including North Korea's Kim Jong-un, who made a rare public appearance out of his country. Russia's Vladimir Putin was also there at the invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. A Venezuelan vessel destroyed in the Caribbean by U.S. forces who say it was manned by cartel members, was carrying drugs, and was headed for the U.S. This is ABC News.
Come work with us. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei-Olsen. Today is the day. It's the first day of school for all students in the Madison Metropolitan School District. More than 25,000 kids attend about 50 schools scattered across the city. That means we'll also have a ton more school buses on the road than we've had the last couple months. Joanne Krulotz has some reminders about sharing the road with students and buses.
According to a recent AAA survey, more than half of Wisconsinites regularly drive through school zones or by school bus stops during their daily routes. In the survey, 46% of drivers admitted to speeding in an active school zone, while 29% admitted to using their handheld cell phone. Motor vehicle crashes are the greatest threat for children. Nationwide, nearly 1 out of every 5 children 14 and younger killed in traffic crashes are pedestrians. While drivers must remain vigilant, pedestrian safety is a shared responsibility. The ABCs of school zone safety for drivers are A, avoid distractions. Stay focused on the road. No texting, eating, or multitasking while driving. B, brake for safety. Slow down and stay alert. School zones are unpredictable, so be ready to stop at a moment's notice. C, check for pedestrians and bicyclists. Watch for school zone signs, crossing guards, and anyone walking or biking. Pedestrians should also stay alert. Be aware of your surroundings and avoid using headphones or looking down at your phone when near traffic.
And remember, students can get half-price fare on Metro Transit. Kids age 5 to 17 and those still in high school can get half-price rides throughout the school year. All they have to do is sign up online, get a physical fast fare card, and verify their eligibility. That means showing school ID and some sort of personal ID. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olsen, 92.7 WMDX News.
You want that with the same title?
Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports.
I was just playing around with it because I saw it there and I kind of liked it. It just needs a little tweaking. But yeah, if you want to throw that in there, feel free.
Quintana will face Philadelphia right-hander Aaron Nola. Jacob Mizorowski struggled some again on Monday. Manager Pat Murphy was asked if the Brewers have discussed moving the Miz to the bullpen.
As we go, we need him as a starter right now. He's developing as a starter. That discussion hasn't begun about what else could happen with that.
NFL, it's the Packers and the Lions on Sunday. Defensive lineman Carl Brooks will fill the void left by Kenny Clark, traded to the Cowboys for Micah Parsons. I asked him if he'd spoken yet to Kenny.
Casey, we called each other and we talked and had a heart-to-heart and kind of handed us the keys. So, we love Kenny around here. He's a great player, great mentor, great leader, everything. You can't stop saying enough great things about him. But I'm excited. I'm blessed for this opportunity just to go out there and get more reps and more snaps.
That's Packers defensive lineman Carl Brooks with Sports on Mike Clemens.
Join the family. Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state. Open now at civicmedia.us/careers.
Lingering showers this morning, then mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. Our high in the upper 60s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 41 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and even cooler with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp 62.
Shop Furlough Mattresses Mega Mattress Sale. Get additional savings on top of our factory direct pricing. That's double the savings on your new mattress. Plus, save even more when you upgrade to an adjustable base. At Furlough, all of our mattresses are locally crafted and backed by our lifetime comfort guarantee. So hurry in and get savings on top of savings during Furlough's Mega Mattress Sale. Wake up. Sleep better. Furlough.
Oh, this is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio. On our show, we share stories from Turtle Island, highlighting the people and issues shaping our communities. From protecting water to treaty rights and preserving languages and traditions, we cover it all. Hear voices like Arena Martin of Emerge, Wisconsin, Dr. Stately, Robert Lilligren, and more, because Native issues are...
20 seconds.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Good morning. It is 7:06. Nice to have you back here up north on this Wednesday morning, September 3rd. Parker Olson producing this shindig down in Madison Studio A2. And coming up a little later this hour, we'll talk to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen from WEAC. It's back to school time. And along with tracking, new lessons and homework assignments comes tracking legislation out of Madison and Washington, D.C. And we'll find out from the Educators Association what it is that they're following. Some things that are very big picture bills and some that are rather ticky-tack, micromanaging what teachers do for a living. So we'll get into that a little bit later on this hour, again, on this Wednesday morning. It's the 3rd of September, and I wanted to point out a couple of comments that were in the mailbag here as we get set to bring Brittany on board here. Let's see. Alicia notes on YouTube. Oh boy, it just started raining kind of hard here in Green Bay. I'm looking at the radar right now, and I'm seeing exactly what you mean here. And let's see. There was also one about the weather here. It was from Roger on Facebook, who says, "Good morning. My Facebook memories show that 2 years ago today, the high in Stevens Point was 101, and that it got to 100 in Wapaka and Wisconsin Rapids." Brittany Merlot is here to tell us that ain't happening today.
No way. I don't know. Now I'm like, would you rather have 100 degrees or 50 degrees?
Oh, we're doing Would You Rather on 50
Yeah.
or on 50 or 100.
50.
If it's on 50 or 100, well, again, it depends on the calendar. If it's August,
Today.
I'm
Yes.
going to
Right
insist on 100. It's September. I could accept the 50. But
Ooh, I like it, Pat. I like it.
I know. See, I'm not that much of a summer devotee. I just don't want it to be 50 in August. 50 in September is what we're going to get, though. That's just what's out there, because that is a well-defined front that is moving through Green Bay and getting close to the Madison area and down to Prairie du Chien. And there's some noticeable changes behind it, aren't there?
Oh, yes. Those winds are whipping out of the northwest across Lake Superior right now. It's picking up into the north. You can definitely feel the difference. In fact, northeast Wisconsin today, your high temperatures, you're only going to make it to the mid 40s. You're actually going to be dropping a lot of the northern part of the state throughout the afternoon. Highs will be hit early this morning, 50s to 60s for most of the state today. Maybe we'll squeak out a 70 degree by Milwaukee. I highly doubt it, but it is possible. That front is, of course, moving its way towards Madison right now into the Fox Valley and headed towards Milwaukee afterwards. A lot of the northwest part of the state staying dry this morning, but a few wraparound spotty showers and storms do still look like they head towards us again this afternoon. So chances for rain still continuing. It's going to be a dark and damp day today, mostly cloudy, winds starting to whip, like I said, much, much cooler than where we should be. And then the clouds start to clear late tonight. This is not a good thing because this is going to allow the temperatures to crash pretty chilly. I'm talking mid-30s throughout north central parts of the state. We could see a frost advisory going out, maybe dropping to 32 degrees in some places like Hayward or maybe up towards Vilas County. Those areas tonight, if you have sensitive plants outside or gardens still going, take care of that before it gets too cold by the morning. Tomorrow, we're not looking at much warmth either. Low 50s to low 60s across the state. We'll start off with some sunshine, but then we've got more rain rolling through tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, winding down by Friday. And we actually have a dry weekend ahead, and it slowly starts to warm up, but we stay breezy through at least Friday and well below average.
Let's see. We've got from Rob in Tigerton. Good morning. It's cloudy, 60 degrees. Tigerton picked up 0.3 of an inch of rain from a thunderstorm that went through around 5 a.m. Yesterday, I mowed 6 yards in Tigerton. The fall grass is coming through. There's a little brownish top to the grass now. Not here yet, but I've been watching for it. Yep. Today, I have a doctor's appointment in Shawano. I have to find an alternate route to Theta Care because the Highway 2922 interchange is closed. That's the main route from 29 to downtown Shawano. So Labor Day may be past, but construction season, it's not over yet. And Rob also handy on the weather almanac. He says that 2 years ago on this date, it was 101 degrees in Tigerton. But to get to Brittany's, yeah,
I like half.
and that's where Tony wraps it up by saying 50 all day, every day.
Yes, same here. Same here. That's comfortable, right? You can put on more clothes. 100 and oh no. Too much.
And you get used to 50 too. You don't get used to 100.
That's true. Good point, Parker.
Rob says, just think if we had this pattern in January, temperatures would not get above 0. And that's where I draw the line. You can talk about 50 and you can talk about 100, but 0 is like, no, I never accept that. Can you just very briefly talk about the concept of wraparound showers? Because it's got to be tricky, because it's one thing to see a system coming in and the system is swirling counterclockwise as they do.
Yep.
And so you see the front end and then that wrapping around it counterclockwise. Sometimes you get showers on the backside as it comes through, and sometimes you don't. And am I right? Is that a much trickier thing to predict?
It really is, because you're getting this cold, dry air that's moving in behind it. Well, that kind of kills showers and storms. So when you also get the cold, dry air over the lake, that creates them. So it's hard to determine just the right standards. Will it actually happen? Will it fall? Will it be a light rain or will it be a heavy rain too? So there's a lot of things with those wraparound showers, but with the strong winds and a big system disturbing it, more than likely we go with it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking, the system is such that, I'm guessing the center is right there on the border between Michigan and the UP, because there's a mess of showers, that wrap around up into Lake Superior.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of looking going, well, does it wrap around the backside and spank you again? It's like, well, we don't know. You never know what these systems are going to do.
Maybe this
So
afternoon. We'll
keep
see.
an eye
Yeah.
out for it. All right, Brittany, thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Reminder, you can sign up for the Up North News daily newsletter. Head over to upnorthnewswi.com and get signed up there. We have a question of the week as well. And our question this week is about dreamers. Those would be the children of undocumented immigrants, and the United States is the only country they've ever known. Their parents have been here, working hard, paying taxes into the system, even though they're never going to get the benefits from it, despite what some politicians want to tell you. These kids have been going to school. They've been graduating. They've been moving on. They've become adults. Are they now fair game for you to just pluck off the streets and deport to a country they've never known? Or would the better way to go be providing a path towards citizenship? I mean, the answer seems to be self-evident, but I definitely want to hear from people who are so, quote unquote, law and order that they believe that people like this are, deserve to be stateless. That if Donald Trump wants to round them up, yeah, he can round them up because their parents came here and did not go through a system that has not been reformed, that is so ridiculously convoluted. But we'd love to have your thoughts, and you get our Sunday morning question of the week first. If you sign up for our Sunday morning newsletter, sign up for it at upnorthnewswi.com. A little later, I'm going to get into 3 different topics where we can make the point that not every issue is decided on a partisan or even an ideological basis right away on a knee-jerk reaction. There's not 1, not 2, but 3 different stories where I can honestly look at them and go, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I need to learn more. It's the kind of thing I wish more people would say, is just to say, I don't know. Let me look into it and I'll give you my thoughts later. And don't just shoot from the lip. The way Donald Trump did he was asked about an object being thrown from the White House window over the weekend. And he was like, oh, that's AI. And maybe it was AI. Maybe I should just blame everything on AI. Well, we learned later that some maintenance work was being done and some items were being, thrown through the window down to a dumpster or whatever. So it was real. Why wouldn't the president just say, I don't know, this is the first I've heard of it, let me get back to you, instead of just making up stuff? So we'll get into some of these issues a little bit later on. But first, with Parker Olson here, I want to explore a topic you might have heard from Mike Clemens doing sports at the top here. And he's got sound from Brewers manager Pat Murphy saying, well, we haven't had that talk yet. Well, actually, we have. We're starting this talk right now. The talk being Jacob Misiorowski. Great electric start in the beginning, first game or two. And then what we're seeing from him is saying to me and a whole lot of other people, this guy's not a starter. This guy belongs in the bullpen. He's throwing 102 miles an hour consistently. How is this guy not your closer, or at least your guy in the 7th and 8th innings to shut things down? I mean, Pat Murphy saying, well, we don't really need that right now. I don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, I get it. You need starting pitching. You need good starting pitching. But is Jacob Misiorowski the best starting pitcher if you're only going to get 3+ innings?
No, he's not. I think that you're at a point with Misiorowski that you definitely would be better off in, I think a long relief. I don't think he might be best with an opener. If you have an opener for 1-2, and if Aaron Ashby opens for 2 innings and Misiorowski comes in, he gives you another 3, maybe 4.
Mm-hmm.
That could put you in a really good spot. I don't know necessarily that the Brewers need any more setup man or closer type things, but maybe with Trevor McGill suffering that I can't remember what it is, something on his elbow.
Trevor McGill too, or was it just Shelby Miller from the other day?
No, I'm gonna fact check myself. I thought that we had somebody that was messed up here.
Yeah, no, Shelby Miller felt something in his elbow pop when he was pitching the other day. So, and again, much like the 3 items I'm talking about in the news, this item too, it's like there is no instant answer. I actually, you can hear it in our voices. We actually want to know a little bit more. We want to talk this out a bit, that because Misiorowski had a perfect 6 innings in his debut, and then he was a no-hitter for 5 innings, 4 or 5 innings in his second game.
Yeah.
We're thinking, oh, this is the starter of the future. We're going to get no-hitters out of this guy. We're going to get perfect games out of this guy. And it turns out, no, we're not. You're going to get a couple of really good innings. So where do you use them best? And because we're not a sports talk station, we're just going to leave it at that. We just set the table. And then you all discuss later on.
I did fact check myself, though. I am correct.
Trevor McGill has a thing too.
Trevor McGill has a right flexor strain. He's on the 15-day IL right now.
Gotcha. All right.
So maybe you put McGill back there.
So Brewers. So maybe we just stop trying to second guess Pat Murphy. Yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Leave him and his pocket pancakes alone. He's doing.
Yes. Brewers were off yesterday, finally, and now they get back in action this evening against the Phillies. Coverage begins at 6:05 on stations in Richland Center, Oshkosh, Racine, Kenosha, Park Falls, and Hayward. And while we're talking sports, of course, there's high school football all over the place across the Civic Media Radio Network. Head over to the website, civicmedia.us, to learn more. And, of course, on Saturday, you've got Badger football. The Badgers taking on Middle Tennessee. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock on Saturday on stations in Richland Center, Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, and Ripon. And there's more. The Packers are playing on some Civic Media stations as well, playing the Detroit Lions in the season opener this Sunday. Kickoff is at 3:25, but you can catch the pregame for the Packers starting Sunday at 1 p.m. on WRCO in Richland Center, WCQM in Park Falls, WRJN in Racine, and then Civic Media's newest Green Bay Packers affiliate, WAUH in Watoma. All of those places where you can catch the Packers. We'll be talking to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen from WEAC coming up in about 15 minutes. But first, from the heart of America's up north, live from Lake Wissota, thanks for making this the place to spend part of your mornings. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
The Labor Day sale continues. Get a free box or platform foundation with your mattress purchase or upgrade to an adjustable base during the Labor Day sale through September. Verlo Mattress East and West in Madison. Go to verlo.com.
When you're having computer problems, you need a company you trust to get things working again, quickly and affordably. Madison Computer Works has been doing that for business and residential customers for decades. Our computer care plans take away the hassle of being without your computer or needing to bring it in for repair. Starting at only $10 a month, our local and friendly techs provide remote help and can fix most problems in just minutes. Call 608-231-8000 and sign up today. Madison Computer Works, computers that work for you.
This is Chad Spate. Sometimes I'm overwhelmed by the hatred and misinformation that consumes our world, but I also know that we cannot build a house of justice and inclusion on a foundation of hatred and lies. We have to practice what we preach. At Chad's Design Build, we confront injustice the same way we confront a poorly built home, with love, compassion, intelligence, and persistence. We engage our community the way we engage our clients, with honesty and humility and the dogged determination that we can do better. Chad's Design Build, remodeling done well with love.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. My training helps me at work when I lead by example. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my community and those I care about safe from threats. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard, aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
This portion of John and Gordy in the Morning is brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center. If you're having trouble with your hearing, do something about it. Talk with the good folks at Madison Hearing Aid Center.
Welcome back. It's just about 7:23 on this Wednesday morning. It's 57 degrees in the Chippewa Valley, 64 in La Crosse right now. Amory, you're at 54, Oshkosh, 63 degrees. And in Watoma at Cristiano's Coffee Bar, it is 62 degrees right now. We occasionally get people who ask us about the way the morning show is structured, because throughout the course of the morning, there are folks at some of our local affiliates who get local news updates a couple of times an hour. And they ask, well, what if, you're continuing to ramble on, right? I'm like, yeah, that's what we do. We just kind of keep yapping here. And like, well, what if we wanted to listen to what you're doing? Well, Facebook and YouTube, or you could subscribe to us as a podcast. Now, if by chance, let's go the other way. Let's say you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, or you're catching us by podcast, but you actually want to know what your local civic media station is covering. Well, our friends at Civic Media have local news updates that you can get on their individual websites. So you start by going to civicmedia.us. and then go to your local civic media station. And up near the top of each station's homepage, you'll find a daily news roundup that you can listen to right there. You can sign up for email versions of their daily updates as well, all right there. And so there's many ways to listen to us and listen to all that we do whether it's over social media, over terrestrial radio, by podcast, or by listening at the website or getting the newsletter. All of these different ways to follow what we're doing at Up North News and across the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, I promised you I'd mention a few things where it's not really easy to say from the top, I like this idea, I don't like this idea. One of them deals with Epic, the big medical records company based out of Madison. The headline in the Cap Times is Epic partners with the Trump administration on a new health tech initiative. Okay. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services says the goal is building, quote, smarter, more secure, and more personalized healthcare experiences. The project is focusing on two areas, according to the Cap Times: more access to personalized tools for patients to better understand their medical information, and promotion of a federal network that would allow health systems to exchange and use information in a coordinated and secure way. Okay, now, if Donald Trump weren't president, and I told you all of those things, you might be inclined to say, yeah, that makes sense. Well, one problem we have in this country is that health systems databases and records can't talk to each other. And I know from having a wife who's a physician, the frustration of a new patient coming to you, but they don't have all the stuff in their medical history, and it's not easy to access it from someplace else. So on the surface, there's definitely something positive about this. But now you add what Elon Musk and Doge did with sensitive personal information across all government databases, and now you're wondering, well, what are they going to do when they can have access to our medical records and medical history? So I'm not ready to say that what Epic is doing shouldn't be done in partnership with the Trump administration, but I am saying that there's reason to want to know more and to know more about the safeguards that would be in place to protect our privacy. Here's the next issue. It deals with President Trump meeting with the president of South Korea last week, and an announcement being made that South Korea is going to help rebuild the U.S. shipbuilding industry. Now, recall we had Tom Nelson on a couple of weeks back about his book about the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and how the Edmund Fitzgerald was actually in really poor shape, very poor maintenance. A lot of shortcuts had been taken, in part because America had taken its shipbuilding industry for granted and then let it wither and practically die. I think we build something like 1% of the world's ships right now. It used to be a much, much bigger number. South Korea is one of those big players. And so Trump and South Korea announcing a partnership that South Korea would help the U.S. build up its shipbuilding. Again, on its surface, sounds like it has potential. But again, what are the safeguards that protect American jobs? Senator Tammy Baldwin put out a statement about this the other day, saying, okay, let's make sure that this is actually good for American workers, that this isn't, say, another Foxconn, where an overseas company comes in, makes all these big promises, and then doesn't fulfill them. Or is this just all on the surface, and it's actually South Korea that's going to be building more of our ships? Are we just outsourcing more of our shipbuilding? So again, in this story, a couple of different ways to look at it. We got to learn more before we pass judgment, and we've got to look for the safeguards. And then finally, I noticed at what was at first a rather interesting but somewhat generic announcement about a new advocacy organization called the Northwoods Policy Network. And full of, the kind of language you'd want to hear. The organization aims to be the Northwoods voice across the state, advocating for greater policy considerations and economic opportunity. The group will educate others on the unique challenges our communities have faced in recent decades, as well as offering research and solutions that make our region not just a destination, but a home. Okay, that's all fine. But then when you look at, say, some of the tweets that they put out, it's pretty clear that they talk about, for example, one of the co-founders is a big supporter of, small modular nuclear reactors, is opposed to solar energy, wants to talk about growing the lumber industry, and also talks about other energy investments, and I don't mean new energy or green energy. I'm talking about, again, going with things that are not necessarily in line with what you might find in the Inflation Reduction Act. In other words, what I'm saying is, for all the cliches about representing the North Woods, it better not be just another, as if Wisconsin Manufacturers and Commerce had a branch office up north, and the answer is to just clear cut forests and to build more strip mines. If that's what the Northwoods Policy Network is about, we want no part of it. But again, we don't know that. There's definitely room to learn more. And so we're going to keep an open mind, but I wanted to tell you about it to make sure that you follow it. More after this. You're up north. All right, it's time for a family chat now with Parker Olson. And Parker, do you want to introduce any family members that might be joining the show today?
Hi, so this is my Aunt Peg.
Hi,
Parker.
Hi. How's it going?
A treat. I love this.
It's a small world, Parker. Good to see you this morning.
No kidding, yeah.
Wow. Well, how's Aunt Peg today?
Hey, I'm doing well this morning. I'm excited to be here to talk about an important topic, back to school, what's happening in our public schools.
I can't wait either as well. So we're in a 5-minute break here. So we got 4.5 minutes yet to go before we get started, but just want to make sure your camera's working good. You sound good. I've noted on the website all the various bills that are still floating out there. Big picture items, some that are more like, micromanagement, like cursive writing and what flags you can display. So we'll kind of get into the full range of all that. Any other particular themes or specific topics or policies you want to make sure we hit?
Yeah, so I'm really prepped this morning to talk about what we're hoping for to see in this next legislative cycle, right? Sure. The way the budget disappointed public schools, and what we're going to need. I know our educators are thrilled to be back, but I know the circumstances aren't easy.
Yeah, no, very much so. All right, that sounds great. We've got 3.5 minutes left in the break, so I will tuck you back in the waiting room, and we'll see you on the other side of the break.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
To stay vibrant and bold for longer. That's a lot more fun than you put it on because you're looking in the mirror and disappointed with what you see. Those are our big flagship project right now, is the tattoo maintenance oil, and we have 3 different scents of beard oil.
Graham Casillas from Vernon County and Castle Hollow Farms producing hazelnuts. Now, his hazelnut oil will be featured during the upcoming Madison Tattoo Festival at the Alliant Energy Center, September 12th through the 14th.
Farmers and ranchers across the country trust Can-Am because of how they build, support, and stand behind their machines. Now they're backing that trust with even more. Get 24 months of coverage when you purchase select Defender and Outlander models through the Can-Am Agricultural and Business Program. That's how confident they are in the durability of their units. That's not all. You also get a rebate up to $3,500. Give your fleet the upgrade it deserves. Visit the Can-Am website to learn more about the program. Offer ends October 31st. Certain conditions apply. See dealer for details.
And despite the cooler temperatures we've been enjoying, Wisconsin farmers still pretty confident in their crop. 83% of our corn is rated good to excellent this week, according to the Wisconsin Ag Statistical Service. 84% of our soybeans good to excellent, and 88% of our potato conditions called good to excellent. As far as the harvest is concerned, it looks like about 4% of our corn silage has already been harvested. That was as of Sunday. And that's just a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Wednesday. More available anytime. MidwestFarmReport.com. Don't forget to check out our podcast playlist. I'm PM Yankee.
As Wisconsin is saying the word bag instead of bag. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Lingering showers this morning, then mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. Our high in the upper 60s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 41 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and even cooler with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Current temp 62.
I'm Rick Smith, host of The Rick Smith Show. If you're looking for honest talk, real stories, and straight up news that matters to you, tune in to The Rick Smith Show. We're digging into the issues that affect your job, your family, your future. Join me weeknights at 9 on the Civic Media Radio Network, because your voice deserves to be heard. That's The Rick Smith Show, heard weeknights at 9 right here on the Civic Media Radio Network.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
Sugared soda or diet soda? What's worse, Mr. Jeff Perry?
Sugared sodas are worse.
Really?
I think that Coke Zero is better than regular Coke.
Kurt, listen on MDX of Madison.
Diet sodas are terrible because it fools the brain in producing insulin.
Back in 30 seconds.
Hey, Up North News is a separate entity from Civic Media. Up North News is part of Courier Newsroom, a pro-democracy news network, and you can head over to couriernewsroom.com to read more newsletters, all of the state-based news coverage from around the country. Of course, Cam Stevenson has his new Below the Beltway newsletter out of the nation's capital. There's podcasts, there's merchandise, and more. Again, head to couriernewsroom.com to learn more. Welcome to our homeroom segment, where we speak every week at this time about public education in Wisconsin, opportunities, threats, and so forth. And it's the start of a new school year. It's not just the kids that are back in class. It's not just the teachers that are getting back to work, but things are getting back into gear in Madison and in Washington, D.C. A lot is happening there for our educators to keep an eye on. And so to help the educators keep an eye on things is the Wisconsin Education Association Council. And Peggy Wirtz-Olsen joins us from there now. Peggy, good morning. And I can't help but notice, let's see, you spell your name O-L-S-E-N as well. Same as that Parker Olsen guy. Parker, is there a connection here we need to know?
There's a slight connection. This is my Aunt Peg.
Peggy Wirtz-Olsen is your Aunt Peg.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. I love the small world thing. This makes me happy. Peggy, let's forget the school stuff. Let's get into Parker here for a second. Let's really
No.
Are you proud of this young man that he has not taken very good choices in life and he's ended up on a ridiculous morning radio show? Do you want to give him any career advice right now at this point?
Well, it's fantastic to get to see him so early in the morning. And when he said he had taken a job with you all, like finished college, starting with you almost the next day, perfect career choices, Parker Olsen. Well done.
He is. I'm getting, it's like every day, and I don't get outside very much, but I'm getting compliments all the time. Like, hey, that Parker, he's really a nice addition and all that. So yes, I am. And so I clearly have Peggy to thank for this. I now know where the good family influence came from. So thank you, Aunt Peg, for doing that. Let's get into some of the WEAC matters that you're working on for the start of the new school year. I was looking at the WEAC website about the various bills that you have to follow, and you can do that at weac.org. And they range all over the place. There was news coverage recently about a back to school sales tax holiday. Then there's big picture things like, the state budget and revenue and referendums. And there are these things that are rinky-dink to the point of ridiculousness about just basically wanting to micromanage teachers. It is a small miracle, Peggy, that you guys can follow everything that might affect your members in some way, shape, or form.
Well, as our members, right, educators like me start this school year, I know that top of mind is certainly their excitement about jumping back into the classroom. But they often tell me, I want to focus on the work I do every day in my school with my students. And I don't have all the time to be tracking as you've referred to it, some of the micromanaging or some of the nonsense that comes out of sometimes Washington, especially now, and certainly Madison.
No, and that's where a lot of people are. They just want to do their job, but they also want to be informed, without having to go through all the bills themselves and everything else. So over the summer, when your members would say, look, I was really busy. What is this deal with the state budget? Did it help or hurt or what? What are the kinds of things that you told your members in the wake of the state budget as far as what it did and what it didn't do going forward.
Yeah, our members were disappointed with what they saw out of Madison with this state budget. Zero new aid for K-12 public schools. So basically we have a budget that's not going to keep up with inflation, and 66% of our school districts are set to lose state aid. Now, we can unpack more of the struggles with that budget, special ed reimbursement that falls short of what we need, asking for 90%, the same as our vouchers get. And, we landed on 42% and 45% in the second year. So unpacking all of that, but it doesn't take an expert in any field to recognize that public schools are underfunded, and this budget didn't get it done to help that.
No, and I would call folks' attention to our friends at Motherhood for Good, and Kate Duffy did another one of her excellent videos that explains this whole situation, explains revenue limits and the per pupil adjustments, what that means versus the general state aid. And yeah, you can put a little more money in the special education pot, but you can't say that that makes up for a 0% increase in general education aid. I mean, that's just not how the numbers work when it comes to inflation and things like that. And so we are almost certainly going to see another wave of school referendums, which again puts educators and school board members in a position of having to, quote unquote, justify asking the property taxpayers for more money. I sense, Peggy, that it's becoming less of a defensive answer and more of a go on offense answer in terms of really pointing out who is it that's holding back and underfunding our public schools.
Absolutely. So, decisions in Madison impact districts, every district across Wisconsin. The bottom line really comes down to the haves and the have-nots. When you're asking primarily most school districts in Wisconsin to ask their own taxpayers to raise their taxes to fund their public schools. And we're talking about keeping the doors open and the lights on. We're not talking about high level needs, right? We're talking about basic necessities. So the haves and the have-nots, communities that can pass a referendum and get their tax base behind it, can organize, right, and make sure that their message is clear, then they win a referendum. And those that are unable to do that lose. But it's not about winners and losers. When we're talking about our public schools and our students, we all want students to win.
We're talking to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen, WEAC president and educator, here on our homeroom segment on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News across the Civic Media Radio Network. And again, of all the many bills that are in the hopper in Madison, there is, like I said earlier, some attention on a back to school sales tax holiday. And this is, we talked in the last segment about ideas that come up, and you really shouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction one way or the other until you learn more. And in the case of a back to school sales tax holiday, I think that there's a lot to be said for people that say, well, that's just a gimmick, this little window where you don't have a sales tax on school supplies. And then others say, well, so what? Why wouldn't you have a holiday on the sales tax for back to school supplies? Different states handle this in different ways. Is it something where WEAC and educators have a position, or are you simply monitoring what the legislature is going to do with this idea?
Yeah, so we're closely monitoring where this one is headed. I know that, when we consider the real inflationary pressures that every single family like mine and yours are facing today, that ideas get batted about. And I also know, as we monitor this one, I know the on the ground conversations I'm having in schools with our educators who spend hundreds of dollars of their own money in making sure that their classrooms are equipped with what they need.
And now into some of the other bills that are interesting. There's one about a proposal to limit flags that can be flown at the state capitol, resulting in certain flags like the pride flag, from being raised. That has some ramifications for flags that can be displayed in classrooms and at schools. There's access to public high schools for military recruiters and whether they should have more or less access than people like private sector employers. There are bills there about youth membership groups and how they operate. Again, with all these things that are there, we've talked about the big picture thing about, funding our schools properly. as you look at these and all the other bills that are out there, are there any that strike you as being especially noteworthy, that they might either be especially helpful or especially, what's the word I'm looking for? Not helpful when it comes to teachers trying to do their jobs?
Well, I think that a lot of times what we see out of Madison are these little niche issues, like you just referenced, that become the focus, right? When we're really trying to figure out big picture needs. We've talked a little bit today about the state budget, and I know our priorities with the budget were around real mental health needs for our students in our classrooms. How do we make sure that there are enough mental health professionals to help every single student who is in need? And universal school meals for kids was another piece of what we were really striving for. I know that my students can't focus in the classroom when they come to school hungry. So what we're advocating for, the educators across the state, is real funding needs that are going to impact our students in positive ways, not debating flags and recruiters.
Cursive writing. Cursive writing is another one of them that's come up. 24 states currently incorporate cursive writing. Again, there's a debate to be had about its usefulness in, an internet age or not. There's also, public inspection of school materials. There's sports team participation by gender. All of these things, again, pale in comparison to the big picture of families who are struggling. They want their kids to get an education, but either the school's falling apart or they're not getting enough to eat or anything. And it really has to start with that overarching support or lack of support for public education, which is what you're looking to see, not just in the state budget, but with bills like all of these across the fall session, right?
Absolutely. The kind of advocacy we're doing, as we talk about, is centered on our students in our public schools, how we're going to properly make sure that every student in every public school in Wisconsin has what they need to not just survive, but to thrive.
Mm-hmm. As we continue looking at some of these bills that are coming up, there's also this one. Again, when we talk about kids getting enough to eat, the Healthy School Meals for All bill, which has been brought up year after year after year. And I will say again, and I will continue to sound like a broken record, how is this still a thing? How is it that we are still charging for school meals and allowing some kids to go hungry? Is there any hope that this is the session that Healthy School Meals for All finally crosses the finish line?
Well, I'm an optimist, and so I like to believe that the Healthy School Meals for All is a bipartisan support. When we're talking about feeding kids in our schools to make sure that they can learn, right, and they have what they need. No, our research shows that for some kids, the only nutritious meal they get throughout the day will be at school, whether that's breakfast or lunch. It feels like a bipartisan effort, and let's make this a session where we get it done.
And then finally, one more of these bills deals with a cell phone ban in school. And I really showed my age the other day, saying that I had assumed as a guy in his 60s that cell phones had already been banned in classrooms. They've not. It's like district by district. There's this talk about a state policy. Is this a very noteworthy topic among educators, either the usefulness of cell phones in the classroom or the way that they need to be banned because they get in the way of good instruction?
It's a conversation I have with educators a lot. And I know that there are other states that have certainly enacted legislation around this. So as a classroom educator, we want to minimize distractions that are impacting students in our schools and in our classrooms. Yeah. So this will be definitely one to pay attention to.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of educational for me, learning about whether they're a distraction or can be useful in some ways. Peggy Wirtz-Olsen, WEAC president. So great to connect with you again. Happy start of the school year. Take good care. We'll talk again soon.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
All right. I'm Pat Kreitlow. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. All right. We are in break. Parker, how'd she do?
That's pretty good.
You're a professional broadcaster now, so you can give us a full evaluation. Pretty good. Is that what you're gonna go with?
Well done.
Thanks, Parker. Thanks for the props. Thanks for making sure that I had audio.
Oh yeah,
exactly. Nope. He's doing great. Peggy, thank you so much. Good to see you. All right, take care.
Oh, likewise. Thanks so much, Parker. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.
See ya.
All right, there's Jimmy. Jimmy's
she's so good. She's awesome.
You wish she was your Aunt Peg too.
Oh my goodness. All of those topics are so relevant right now.
Oh, don't we know it? How are you?
A little tired. We had a JV football game in Illinois last night. So
whoa.
Yeah, our conference stretches pretty far because we're small schools tucked away in this corner of Wisconsin. So we actually make 2 trips to Illinois this year. So we were in East Dubuque last night, and we go to Warren next week or the week after. So
East Dubuque.
Yup.
Can those count for like?
Yep. They all count. It counts for playoff qualification. It counts for all of it. So, but it's JV. JV doesn't count for anything.
Oh, it was JV.
But yeah, we took it a bit. We played a school twice our size, and it went about as expected. So,
yeah, man, that's rough. All right. What else you got there for us? You had JD Vance and lacrosse last week, of course.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of news coverage stuff.
That's fine.
I mean, I didn't really know what angles you wanted to go with. Like lacrosse's big thing right now is that they're still trying to reorganize the city government a bit with city administrator and now a director of operations for the mayor's office. So those are things that are happening. But other than that, like I can do pretty much anything sports wise you need. It's been a week and a half, so it's
no kidding.
Kind of up to you what direction you want to go. I'll handle whatever you throw at me.
Nope, that sounds great. All right, we'll get going in just over a minute.
Gordy Show is brought to you by Madison Hearing Aid Center, 4706 Cottage Grove Road in Madison, helping people change their lives by improving their hearing. They offer fast and flexible appointments with individualized care. Go to MadisonHearingAidCenter.com and take a free hearing test online. They help John Peterson, they help me, and they can help you too. Call them at 608-249-4077. Don't let hearing loss frustrate you anymore. Go to MadisonHearingAidCenter.com.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care where it's needed most in communities.
30 seconds.
I guess you could call it our question of the day. What would you do if you won tonight's Powerball jackpot, $1.3 billion? $1.3 billion. You could do a few things with that. What would you do? You can either put something in the comment sections, Facebook or YouTube, or better yet, use that Civic Media app, use the text feature, and text us what you would do with $1 billion, or use the voice note feature on the Civic Media app as well. Showers and thunderstorms continue working their way to the southeastern corner of Wisconsin. At this point, they've worked their way they're around Green Bay and Manitowoc right now, through Fond du Lac, West Bend, Madison, and then down to Dubuque. Dubuque is familiar to Jimmy Kuska, who joins us now, Civic Media News Director, because, well, you weren't in Dubuque proper. You were in East Dubuque last night for a little JV football, right?
A little bit of JV football. By the way, Powerball jackpot, I've got that taken care of. So you all don't need to think about it. That's all going to me.
It's all going to you, and
it's all going to me.
I'm hoping it includes a high-speed rail link between Boscobel and East Dubuque, where you had to do it.
So
yikes.
High school sports, when you're in a border county or a border area, frequently take you across state lines, and this is this is something we see popular like in sports like basketball, like where you have more games, where you frequently have events like the Border Battle, which is put on by Mark Miller, who writes the Wisconsin Basketball Yearbook. When it comes to football, it's a little more rare, but if you, like in northern Wisconsin, a lot of teams cross the border and play in the UP. In fact, Hurley was part of a conference that was mostly just UP schools for a long time up there in the northern part of the state. Western Wisconsin, you're in Minnesota, southern Wisconsin, Illinois, Iowa. These are things that happen when you're bordering, and it's kind of neat to be able to play at a different state. Sometimes there's even different rules. In basketball, Wisconsin goes by halves, but if you go to Illinois, you're playing in quarters, and now you'll have shot clock. So there's some really cool things that happen when when you get to play across the border.
Wait a minute. Are there still places that don't have a shot clock?
Yeah, one of those places is Wisconsin. So Wisconsin didn't even get it out to the Board of Control this year. It failed in committee, where in years past, they've actually gotten it all the way to saying, we're going to have a shot clock, and then they immediately pulled it back in Wisconsin because so many people complained about the kind of the immediacy of it, the lack of run up to it, and the fact that shot clocks would cost schools money. But now a lot of schools
Oh, that's right.
putting
I
in
remember hearing
shot
that.
clocks as they've built new gyms, sort of waiting for this to happen since all of our border states now have shot clocks in basketball.
Well, yeah. I mean, my goodness, this is like me with the cell phones all over again. Me going, how is this a thing? How are there no shot clocks? I mean, obviously, if it was a bigger problem, we'd be hearing about it, but I'm not familiar with anybody just holding the ball for like 2 minutes at a stretch. And we're not talking like a 24-second shot clock here. What kind of times are we talking about in other states at the high school level?
Yeah, 35 is kind of the standard. So that's where it is. It's a little bit longer than the college shot clock, which is 30. So 35 in high school, and that's like I said, it's happening in states neighboring to us where it's either on the way to full go or it's already in. But Wisconsin, we're still a couple of years away. The thing that'll make it happen, though, is that it's now part of the NFHS handbook. As the way sports are, because most states do have it. So Wisconsin will get it, whether or not they have to be dragged along to it, like they have in a lot of other rule changes in the NFHS. Wisconsin ends up being usually one of the last states to adopt new things, whether it was NIL being one of the last 9 states to get that. For this, they might be one of the last 8 or 9 to do it too. There's already over 30 states with a shot clock. So,
well, I mean, you don't want to rush into anything.
No, absolutely not.
Heaven forbid. We're talking to Jimmy Kuska, Civic Media Sports Director here. We, of course, have not just high school football and more of it this weekend on many Civic Media stations, but of course, we've got your college ranks. The Badgers taking on Middle Tennessee this Saturday. Coverage begins at 1 o'clock on stations in Richland Center, Amory, Wisconsin Rapids, Ripon. They opened the season last week. What's the word on Badger football this year?
Well, hey, I mean, getting a shutout in your first game is always pleasant. And then this week, in these bye games, what you're looking for is to just kind of develop your team. And the Badgers certainly need it after last year's season, which was very disappointing, I think, for many. So they get to play Middle Tennessee State, a team that lost last week to an FCS opponent. Badgers are, depending on what you look, 4 touchdown favorites in this game. So this is a good spot for the Badgers to develop, especially with a backup quarterback going. But yeah, the Badgers are going this week, as are the Packers. So this is kind of that first week of real football, right? Like where you have high school's already in. After this week in high school football, you're a third of the way through the regular season. Badgers football is on to week 2, and then the NFL is week 1. So we are in September. We are full go on football season right now.
And your first reaction when you heard the news that Micah Parsons was coming to the Packers from Dallas?
Well, as a Civic Media employee, it was, I'm in the middle of high school football practice, so I can't do the updates. Mike Clements was covering a presser in Green Bay, so our very own Luke Mather stepped to the plate to get the breaking news alert out about that. So that was my first initial thought. But from an on-the-field perspective, if you're the Packers, you do this 100 times out of 100. You get one of the NFL's premier talents, one of the somebody with a unique talent in the NFL, and you get him for a couple of first-round draft picks and a pretty good player in Kenny Clark for your interior line. You just think back to like what the 49ers gave up for Trey Lance at quarterback. They gave up 3 first-round draft picks. So the Packers getting Micah Parsons for 2 first-round draft picks and a pretty good player. I mean, you do that deal every time. That's amazing.
I paused long enough to bring Parker Olson back into the mix just to say, I hope you caught in the middle of his answer there where I said, Oh yeah. About when he said the Packers would do that 100 times out of 100, and me right away with you. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's our new thing. It's not a new thing. We're just finally noticing how often we say it here in the Midwest. So anyway, oh yeah. Jimmy's here. And you want to give a little 10-second input on how we started the hour? Jacob Mizorowski, should he be in the bullpen?
Hey, you know what? This point of the year, I think everybody's kind of a candidate for that. You have to do a lot of shuffling ahead of the playoffs, and the Brewers are going to be in the playoffs, right? Yeah. That's only a month away. So,
Oh
yeah. Yep. Jimmy, thank you so much. Brewers versus Phillies coverage begins at 6:05 on stations across Civic Media. Good to see you, Jimmy. Have a great day.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. We've got Earl Ingram standing by and Melissa Baldoff with our climate check. That's all ahead on these Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. This is the Civic Media Radio Network. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I just realized looking at the camera, my hair is getting poofy. I got to have my kids cut my hair again.
Poofy. So. Okay.
Yeah. Well, they had their back to school haircuts, but I was coaching that night, and so I got to put off my free haircut. I'm going to have to go get a paid one or something. Because
were you in on the staff meeting yesterday and the announcement about the northern and southern divisions for Civic Media?
Yep. Sports has no borders. We stay with the whole company.
No, I'm not going to dwell on it on air as much as I want to over this point. That the way they drew the line is that Eau Claire is south of the border, whereas Wausau is north of it. Basically, the border comes right through me, and they're putting us in the southern region. I'm like, you're putting Up North News in the southern part?
So what I said is like, I think the dividing line was Highway 29, because if Eau Claire is south and Wausau is north, I'm like, well, Highway 29 is the dividing line then.
Yeah.
So that's how I refer
to it. Chippewa Falls is north, and that's the way it should be.
So I almost made a joke about that in the meeting.
Yeah, I made the joke in the sports thread because that's safe. That's a safe space for me to do dumb stuff. So
yes,
it makes sense. So, all right, Jimmy, thank you so much. See you later. Have a good day. Yep.
See you, Jimmy.
Hey, Earl, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing fine, Pat. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I see one new episode in the show, and where else would you like to go today?
Well, there's conversation about the National Guard coming to the city.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And so J.D. Vance wants to force the issue.
Yes. Okay.
And my response to that is, I think there's a lot more killing and danger going on in New Orleans than there is in the city of Milwaukee. And why is he not asking for it there?
Right. Exactly. And of course, making a trip to Minneapolis today, but didn't see a special trip to commemorate the damage done in Milwaukee. So, okay, got that.
Well, I'll tell you that episode is about young people who age out of foster care, and it's a powerful episode.
Okay, got it. Foster care. Okay, we are set. All right, sounds great. Stand by, Earl. We'll see you in a bit.
All right.
Actually, Earl, real quick, can we just check? Is the blue light on your microphone there?
The blue light is on.
Yep. And then in StreamYard, is it the I think it's Lexicon, I believe is what it's called.
Lexicon. I'm on Lexicon.
Awesome. Okay, just want to double check. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
And those still in high school can get half-price rides throughout the school year. All they have to do is sign up online, get a physical fast fare card, and verify their eligibility. That means showing school ID and some sort of personal ID. I'm Savannah Tomei-Olsen, 92.7 WMDX News.
The Badgers with a new quarterback. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. College football. The Wisconsin Badgers play Middle Tennessee State Saturday, 3 o'clock at Camp Randall Stadium. Starting quarterback Billy Edwards has not practiced after suffering a sprained knee, so Danny O'Neal expected to get the start this weekend.
I'm excited. It's a big opportunity. It's something I've been dreaming of, playing for a Big Ten school since I was a little kid, and I'm just excited to be able to do it with my guys this week.
NFL, a report says that Micah Parsons and his agent made one last attempt to negotiate negotiate a deal with the Cowboys to avoid a trade, but Jerry Jones told them they would only take him back for the final year of his 5-year rookie contract. Baseball, Game 2 of the Brewers and Phillies tonight. The Phillies winning the opener Monday, 10-8. Pat Murphy suspects they're looking for a little revenge after being swept by the Crew the end of May at Citizens Bank Park.
You know, you got to credit the Phillies. They got a great club, and we swept them there, and they remember it. They brought some people in, and they got some people healthy, and they're playing good baseball.
That's Pat Murphy with Sports on Mike Clemens.
As Wisconsin is hitting the road on your Harley. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Lingering showers this morning, then mostly cloudy and quite a bit cooler today. Our high in the upper 60s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy. We're going to drop to around 41 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly sunny and even cooler with a high of 62. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Right now, it's 64.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Dan Marcus is here. One of the snacks Dan likes called Sen.
Kind of tart and sour.
The packaging is not great. I understand it's very old, but like it's like the toffee fay or something. Like
It's like eating candy-flavored charcoal.
Okay.
I am looking on Google, and these packages that I'm looking at are...
Conrad likes to look at packages on Google.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Weeknights from 6 till 8.
Wow.
Media radio station and
Yeah.
the Civic Media.
That was a
app.
choice.
Maggie
That's
Dawn
a
Show.
Matt
different
Ross,
kind
a
of show.
longtime progressive.
I think what we need to do is convince the vast majority of Americans to resist Trump and resist fascism. And we're not going to bring them over if we just act as dirty and nasty as the Republicans are in Texas.
I still disagree. The Democrats, if they talk about it plainly, say, we will de-escalate. You have to agree to do so.
30 seconds.
Live across Wisconsin on Civic Media, you're listening to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News. Now, from our Lake Wissota studio, here is the founding editor of Up North News, Pat Kreitlow.
Good morning. Welcome back once again. 8:06 on this Wednesday morning, September 3rd. Nice to have you here up north. Parker Olson is our producer down in Madison Studio A2. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot is standing by, as is Earl Ingram. We will also be talking to Melissa Baldoff with our climate check. That and much more still ahead. And of course, we're asking the question today, what would you do if you won tonight's Powerball jackpot, an estimated $1.3 billion? That's all coming up. Brittany would have no use for the money because she does whatever she wants right now. She wants to go kayaking. She's going to go kayaking. She wants to camp at EAA. She is a simple girl who just could take that $1 billion and maybe do a little something extra. But by and large, you have all you need, right?
I do. I don't know. I guess I would just buy property all over the country and rent it out and stay in it when I wanted to and get to travel even more, right?
See,
Explore
travel.
more.
Yep. Travel is always a good thing, right? Okay.
Good business right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
right?
throughout the course of the show, we've been watching a line of showers and some thunderstorms making their way across the state. They're pretty much getting into the southeastern third of the state at this point right now, Brittany, right?
They sure are. Madison, Milwaukee, it's on your back doorstep. It's starting to leave Green Bay right now, but parts of the Fox Valley like Fond du Lac, Oshkosh, you're still seeing some of that rainfall. It's not too major, none are severe. We've only seen 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts with this system and pea-sized hail in some places. Otherwise, as it passes, the main rain event will slow down. Scattered showers and some small storms could still spark later this afternoon and into this evening, especially north in the state, because those winds are whipping. They're out of the northwest now for the northern half of the state, pulling in that cooler air mass where highs today far northeast are only going to hit the mid-40s. A lot of us throughout the state, 50s to 60s will be our highs, and we're hitting those right now. We're going to stay steady throughout the afternoon and then crash tonight as the clouds clear. So we are looking at temperatures far north hitting the low 30s to mid 30s. So a frost advisory will probably go out later on this afternoon. If you've got sensitive plants, vegetation, gardens, things like that, you're going to want to make sure it's okay through the overnight. And then as we go through tomorrow, still looking at a lot of sunshine to start the day. High temperatures in those low 50s to low 60s in the afternoon, breezy winds making it feel a little worse. And then we've got another system, a blob of rain moving in tomorrow night, and it'll clear for Friday, leaving us Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, nice, dry, and sunny, but still below average, hanging out in those low to mid 60s.
Okay, but again, dry. And so if you've got an event, I mean, you can put on another layer, and that layer isn't a raincoat or a poncho.
No, that's
And
nice to leave it at home after today.
Right. And not even a parka yet.
No, not yet.
We're in Wisconsin, and the hoodie is always nearby just in case. So,
It is.
all right, Brittany, have a great day. Thanks so much. All right. Let's bring in Earl Ingram next year to talk about the What's Going On podcast with Earl Ingram. Again, head over to civicmedia.us to learn more, get yourself every episode, and we'll get into one of his latest episodes in just a sec, but we've got some other news headlines to get to. Earl, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, Pat. How are you?
I'm doing fine as well, although I was about to give a little promo for the Courier Newsroom Cam Stevenson newsletter Below the Beltway, and it's all about what Cam is covering up on Capitol Hill. But I think it's a good transition into our discussion here, because in today's newsletter Below the Beltway, he talks about how a court has ordered troops out of Los Angeles, but the ruling won't apply to the National Guard in D.C. And of course, we've heard the president of the United States talking just yesterday about sending troops into Chicago, again, for no real good reason. Some great remarks from Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker in response. But we also know Milwaukee, like Minneapolis and others, they're on this list in Trump's head of places where he'd love to have troops. And you even had the head of the Milwaukee Police Union saying he would welcome troops on the city streets of Milwaukee. I'm sure that's got people talking, Earl.
Well, the mayor of the city of Milwaukee, Carolee Johnson, responded immediately to what J.D. Vance, basically, before even having a conversation with the mayor, he talked about, well, this is what we're going to do, and, we want to send the National Guard into the city of Milwaukee. And, do we have problems in the city of Milwaukee? Yeah, we do. I mean, clearly, when you look at some things that are taking place across this nation, there are people who struggle in cities across this nation, both rural and urban. And it's been an ongoing problem in our nation for a long time. Poverty is a horrible, horrible reality, and the wealthiest nation on earth should be able to eradicate poverty. If we wanted to, we certainly could get it done. And so what comes along with poverty is hopelessness, and I'm not making excuses for people who do horrendous things. But I was never hungry. I was never homeless. So I don't understand, how again, in the wealthiest nation on earth, we allow that. I said all that to say this. When the crimes that happen in cities, does the city of Milwaukee and Chicago and other places where this dynamic exists need support from a government? Yes, absolutely. But when the only answer is law enforcement, that's not going to get it done.
No, it's more of a police state, and it strikes me as this is not about really helping with crime. It's not about partnership at all. This is about control. That we could either help provide resources that address crime, or we could attempt to control you. And so instead of substantive legislation that would address, the epidemic of guns on our streets, we're going to put more guns on the streets in the form of, armed uniformed soldiers and masked, agents and things like that. More guns plus thoughts and prayers it equals no solution. It's just all talk, and in my mind, it's all about control.
Well, it's about control. It's about politics. because clearly Donald Trump has decided that this is one of the most important issues facing our nation today. And I would argue that it's not. If you're one who has been impacted and affected by violence and by crime, I'm sure you really don't think it's a good thing. But I'll tell you, it's not the number one issue. And it certainly, for the disciples who support Donald Trump, they can jump on this bandwagon and ride this with all the other things that are going on around us that I think are even more important. This takes all the air out of the room.
Yeah, we're talking to Earl Ingram, and we'll talk about the What's Going On with Earl Ingram podcast coming up in just a sec here. But as we wrap up our conversation about troops and things like that, coming back to what the Illinois governor, J.B. Pritzker, had to say yesterday, I did want to note that one of the things he said is based on the way things have gone so far. In Washington, D.C., they were there basically picking up trash, not really addressing crime. In LA, they weren't doing much there either. And he said, there seems to be this pattern where after about 30 days, after Trump got all the attention that he wants, the troops are quietly, they move on to the next thing. And that's, they're eventually going to move on to Chicago, maybe Milwaukee, other things. And while that's an interesting pattern that it's all a PR stunt for 30 days or so, and then they're quietly withdrawn, the point is still there that this is about looking at what can he get away with in terms of putting the military on the streets of the United States. And it's not a great precedent we should be setting in Chicago, Milwaukee, or anywhere, Earl.
Well, it hasn't historically. I'm old enough that I remember back in 1968 when I was a 12-year-old young man, a young boy, watching the National Guard and the tanks rolled down the city streets where I lived, several blocks away. I remember seeing the Armed National Guard and all of those things. But that was because the cities, over 300 cities went up in flames after the assassination of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. So I've seen the National Guard and armed troops standing on street corners in my lifetime. And I don't think it's time to see that again.
No, it doesn't give any kind of a look of safety. It's more about intimidation and, like I said, about power and control. Over on the podcast, which again you can find over at civicmedia.us, and then click on shows, and you address a problem again when you talk about those kids who are in dire straits and in desperate situations, often end up in foster care. But then what happens is they age out of the foster care system, and it doesn't seem like there's a bunch of resources there for them. And is that kind of what this episode is addressing?
So my wife and I are treatment foster parents, and we have been for 22 years. And so when I realized and talked with these young people about what they were faced with, it's heart-rending, it's heartbreaking, because this happens all over this nation. And with Donald Trump in office right now, there's conversations and talk about even cutting even more out of those programs. But how does it make sense that young people who are trying to find their way and have had some tough struggles in their lives, they don't get to pick their parents, and now they've struggled and fought to try to rectify their lives and turn them around, all of a sudden we pull the plug on them? I think it's heartless. I think it's short-sightedness. And, if the one thing about our nation is we don't seem to value the lives of all children. And I think that's just a negative reality in this nation.
Well, it's about not valuing the children and their care and their safety. For example, the mass shootings that go on in schools. It's about education. It's about jobs and job training. In other words, there are all these things that our politicians could be doing. There are solutions. There are ideas for solutions there. And we're always hearing, well, we can't afford that. We can't afford that. And yet somehow we can afford troops and tanks and everything on the streets of American cities. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, yeah, there are potential ways to address this. I'm just getting really tired of hearing we can't afford it when they're willing to spend their resources on other things like troops.
Well, the insanity in it is, children grow up to be adults. And we talk about adults who are wayward, and we build more and more prisons and we lock people up. And we don't realize the simplest solution to that is nurture children when they're young. Doesn't matter, what their family background is. And if their families can't do what's right by them, we are in a better situation if we address it while they're young, while they're children. It is cheaper, and it certainly makes things a lot better as they become adults.
What's going on with Earl Ingram? The podcast is available at civicmedia.us. Click on shows, get through all the episodes. A lot of great episodes in there that you can catch up on, many of them timeless and worth your time anytime that you can get subscribed to it. Earl, thank you so much for your time today. Hope you have a great day.
You as well.
All right. Again, head over to civicmedia.us and click on shows to learn more. Hey, remember, you can follow my team at Up North News all day. Just head over to upnorthnewswi.com. You can also subscribe to our newsletters, plural, and follow us on social media. And of course, right here, mornings on the Civic Media Radio Network. Tomorrow on the program, we will have Congressman Mark Pocan joining us, as well as Sean O'Malley, Joe Zepecki, Todd Alba, and Chad Holmes, and more. All a busy Thursday ahead tomorrow on these Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News, right here on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right. How are Melissa's conditions right now?
They
hear
are.
you. Are you on the
Yeah,
phone? Or?
I am on the phone. We don't
Okay.
have power until at least 10.
Oh my gosh.
And it's pretty widespread because the middle school and high school aren't able to start until they don't have power. They're not able to start until power's back on. So Jonah left for his second day of school, and then was back a few minutes later, 10 minutes later, and was like, "Oh, no school till 10."
Oh yeah, I'm calling up the We Energies map here, and I see now what you're talking about. Got it. Wow. Okay, wait, let's go back on that. Okay. There we go. It says here 2,100 customers out across 17 outages. Seems to me like it might be a little more given how all the lightning strikes and everything that were going on throughout the storms here. But
right,
what do I know? All right, so we've got what do we got? Oh yes, that's right. The work of fiction out of the White House. Okay,
that's right.
We're good to go there. You okay if we start with what you would do if you won Powerball tonight? What would you do with $1 billion?
Oh, sure.
Isn't it funny how I've noticed that throughout the course of the morning. It's like I've never really thought what I would do if $1 billion fell into my lap, but a lot of people have come back to travel and of course helping other people, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. Let's see. Oh, here's from Tony saying our school lost power yesterday on the first day of school. A squirrel got zapped by something. Didn't have power.
Oh no.
That's a heck of a first day of school. All right, 25 seconds and then we'll be up. Melissa Baldoff just around the corner here with our climate check. But first, we've been talking about how would you handle $1.3 billion if you were to happen to win the Powerball jackpot tonight? Alicia puts up on YouTube, I did the math. I only need, quote unquote, $54 million for the rest of my life. So the rest would be for other people. Alicia, I've calculated my retirement savings and it's nowhere near 54 million. So I don't know what it is you need over there besides, buying a fleet of pontoons or something, but I hope you get that 54 million and then be able to spend the rest of the $1 billion. I know Melissa Baldoff might like to spend some of it on a generator because with all the thunderstorms rolling through, Melissa's without power right now, but joins us by phone. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing all right. Luckily the weather is beautiful today. Only aside from the rain, temperature wise,
Yeah.
lovely conditions. So, I'm able to sit on my front porch, where it's not dark, and because it's pretty cloudy outside. At least I have a
Mhm.
little bit of light out here. Um,
But heck of a way to
so
start the school year with a power
it
outage.
sure is. Yep. The 16-year-old left for his second day of junior year and was back within 10 minutes with the news that school would not be starting until 10 o'clock.
Ah.
Um, so fortunately, he is a driver
Mhm.
and he is driving to go get me some coffee.
Perfect. See, isn't it, that's the nice part when they get the license is the usefulness that comes into play here.
Very, very useful here.
Uh-huh.
Of course,
Bring,
that means getting something for him and
of
one of his
course.
friends, but that's a tax I'm willing to pay.
Exactly. You fly, I'll buy, and get yourself something real
Exactly.
nice. From Tony on YouTube, up in Ashland, our school lost power yesterday on the first day of school after a squirrel got zapped, being someplace he shouldn't have been. Didn't have power all day long. So it's not just the thunderstorms that can do this. What about you? $1.3 billion. If you happen to win Powerball tonight, what kinds of things would you like to do if you were suddenly independently wealthy?
Well, of course, all of the things that everybody would do, immediately, right? Pay off our mortgage, make sure, our kids and my, nieces and nephews are all set up for college, all those practical things.
Mhm.
Travel, more time with the extended family. Um, and then my do-gooder self, would definitely start a super PAC. I don't know where it would be focused
There
though,
you
but I would
go.
definitely make some significant investments, maybe around clean energy investment and improving resilience and you know, educating people about why this is important and reminding them who is responsible for uh, you know, the greater effects that we're feeling for more outages like the one we're experiencing right now because the grids are overloading and we're not getting that support and investment from the federal government to take those steps that everybody knows we need to take to improve the grid, to improve our resilience, and to give people more stability as we face continued negative effects from climate change.
Well, I mean, you know that, and I know that, and pretty much the entire science community knows that. But the headline in the New York Times says scientists denounce Trump administration climate report. More than 85 scientists, American and international, have condemned a Trump report that calls the threat of climate change overblown, saying the analysis is riddled with errors, misrepresentations, and cherry picked data. In other words, misinformation, which is what they do best, Melissa. Again, for a work of fiction, you don't see a lot of that coming out of places like the White House, but you sure are with a report this ridiculous.
Well, I mean, it used to be that, let's clarify here. It used to be that you didn't see works of fiction coming out of the White House, but that's pretty much all you see out of this one.
Oh yeah.
Let's start with the biggest work of fiction right now, which is that Donald Trump is just fine. When everyone with, any amount of eyes and ears can tell that he is not fine. So the misinformation, the disinformation, the outright lies are par for the course in this administration, and it really I think is it's disappointing though to see them just completely double down on this, and it continues to make our country an absolute laughing stock globally. Um, when you know that the rest of the world is taking this seriously, they are using every opportunity they have. They're pulling every lever at their disposal to take steps to mitigate these harmful effects. And they are looking at it also at the same time as an opportunity to strengthen their economies, be set up for the future, and we're just continuing to fall backwards on those metrics, while also, denying the science around climate change, denying science around vaccines, around any other, health outcomes, right? Whatever, whenever this administration is confronted with a set of facts that do not align with what their goals are to enrich themselves and billionaires, in some way, they will lie about what those facts are, ignore them completely, or just make up an entirely new set of, quote unquote alternative facts, right? So
I was gonna say that's where we're going next is the alternative facts. Pretty par for the course, which is why we're people. If you were expecting us to go through point by point, no, it's just a classic work of fiction that we wanted to call attention to in this week's Climate Check Report. Melissa, I hope you get power again real soon. Enjoy the coffee in the meantime.
thank you.
All right. Have a great day. This is Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, powered by Up North News, live from Lake Wissota. We're here on the Civic Media Radio Network. Back in a bit. So here's a question for you.
Here's an answer for
you. This will be the first time since we moved history into a longer segment that we're actually going to maybe go back and mention a few of these things. Are the songs all like in order? You can't pick them one or the other?
I can play them as you want.
Can play them as we want. Okay.
They are
but
stuck with the timestamp of when we were going to start them originally.
Actually, no, I take that back because we moved them to the 6 o'clock hour just for copyright purposes, and I don't want to get dinged in the 8 o'clock hour. So we'll talk about some of these and go from there.
If you put it underneath, we should be okay if you're talking over it. I would think.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do this then. Can you go grab Freedom 90?
Yep.
And just bring that up, and that way I can also mention history, but I can also do a little Todd Alba thing here.
Do you want to come back live? Do you want that as bumper?
Yeah, use that as bumper.
Okay.
We'll just talk over it.
Sure thing.
Okay. Well, Todd, you better have some guests here. Scrolling down through the content calendar. Pat Kreitlow. That's not a guest. Oh well. Well, you got to work with what you got here.
And Trigby, hang on. Those are.
I know.
Jeez.
All right, we'll do that.
I did immediately think of Todd Alba when I saw this was on there.
You see? Yep.
Yeah. There's also a commercial, I think, that uses a song. I can't remember which one it is. It's definitely like Cialis or something like that. But if you're gonna put that social media thing up, put it up before we go on air so you can mute it first before we're live, so we don't have that background noise.
No, I was going to do that in the next segment.
Gotcha.
Just actually getting ready ahead of time. Preparation. It's amazing.
Hey, look at you.
What a concept.
Wow.
We got you for just a sec there, didn't we? Thinking, this was Todd Alba time. It's not. As part of today's history lesson, which is at its new time of 6:35 on weekday mornings, we mentioned that on this day in 1990, George Michael released his "Listen Without Prejudice" album, his second solo album, and "Freedom 90," the song there, is the one that you hear with one Mr. Todd Alba on weekday afternoons from 2 to 4 across the Civic Media Radio Network. Let's see. Who's Todd got today on his show? Ooh, slim pickings today. Some has-been named Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow, will be on at 2:06. Oh, wait, he redeems himself with Peggy Wirtz-Olsen, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, also at 2:06. So catch me and Peggy on Todd Alba's program coming up later this afternoon. All right, looking at the Maggie Dawn show from 4 to 6, State Senator Jody Habush-Sinekin will be joining Maggie at 4:30 today to talk about the new proposed legislation by Democrats to fund the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. You'll recall that's the conservation program that many Republicans would like to kill or at least severely micromanage. And it is a program that risks running out of funding unless some kind of action is taken. There is a Republican proposal. There's a Democratic bill as well. And Senator Jody Habush-Sinekin will be talking about that with Maggie Dawn coming up at 4:30. Matt and Air on Air follows this program here starting at the top of the hour. And there will be a discussion at 9:30. So 1 hour from now about mail-in voting and voting machines with guest Sarah Gonski. And then later at 10:05, you can hear from Darren Von Ruden, president of the Wisconsin Farmers Union, is going to be joining Jane Matnair and Greg Bach for Matnair on Air. And of course, if you can't stick around for all of those things, you can catch us as a podcast. Every one of these shows, head over to Spotify and subscribe to Mornings with Pat Kreitlow and all the other shows. You can do it as Apple as well, or head over to the website civicmedia.us to learn more. In the history section today, a couple of other notes that we followed as we do every day. We talked about how it was on this day in 1929. It was kind of the peak of the roaring 20s, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average reaching an all-time high in 1929 up to that point. And the Dow would not reach that level again for a very long time because the crash of 1929 happened the following month, ushering in the Great Depression. And again, for all of these history notes, tune in at 6:35. Although I guess for me, Parker, the one that really stands out still is that Charlie Sheen turned 60 years old today. I mean,
yeah,
man epitomizes the phrase ridden hard and put away wet. But somehow,
hey, good for him. He's still kicking.
Well, and there's Willie Nelson, there's Keith Richards, there's this ongoing list of people that we really thought would be gone by now. And yet, they're still with us, still here.
Yeah. Just letting you know. They're not doing a lot. They're just letting you know.
At least they're there as well. Yes. Today on the National Day calendar as well, this is National Bowling League Day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the sound of a man in Parker Olson who I'm guessing has never been part of a bowling league.
No. I did do like fairly often with some friends, but certainly not a league.
Okay.
Pat, can I say this?
Yes, Parker, go for it.
I think you look like a guy who would be in a bowling league, has been in a bowling league.
You would be wrong. I have not been part of a bowling league, though I suppose I do get what you're trying to say. And yes, I do look old, but no, not to the point where I was on a bowling league. I'm only now just starting to wear, the bowling league shirts, the kind like Charlie Sheen always wore on 2.5 Men, kind of that retro Jetsons meets the Flintstones kind of look to it. But no, not in a bowling league, although I would dare say I've done a lot more bowling than, your generation has done. Bowling is not the activity that it used to be.
No, it's kind of sad. It's a fun thing to do.
And it leads me to this point. It got me thinking when I saw that this was bowling league day, and that people just don't participate in bowling leagues the way that they used to. It reminded me of a book that I'd read a couple of years ago that I wanted to share again. And it's such an interesting title. It's called Bowling Alone. And it's all about the collapse and the hopeful revival of the American community. The book was written in 2000 by Robert Putnam, and it surveys the decline of social capital in the United States since 1950. Okay, social capital. What do we mean by that? According to the author, it's all the forms of in-person social intercourse upon which Americans used to create and educate and enrich the fabric of their social lives. And he argues that this undermines what we're going through now, the active civic engagement that a strong democracy requires from its citizens. And I know you're saying, wow, we're really connecting some dots here. We're going from bowling and bowling leagues to whether democracy is threatened by the collapse of some of this so-called social capital. And again, it was a fascinating book because he raises some great points about how we don't gather the way that we used to in terms of bowling leagues, or look at a lot of these social clubs that are out there now, Rotary and Optimists and Lions clubs. And that's not to say that the people that are in them now aren't doing worthy things. Of course they are. They're great. I loved my time in Rotary, and maybe that will be one of my retirement efforts, is to get more involved in Rotary or some other thing like that. But it's because we don't gather together as much, that we don't have that kind of social capital, that we're not having the discussions that would essentially lead to better informed voters who would be a check on some of our worst impulses. By going it alone in so many ways, just you and your screen, just me and my screen, just him and his screen. And we're cherry picking what we want to see as we're doom scrolling through social media. So instead of social capital, building things together, we're all stuck in social media, and we're just individually ingesting things and sharing them, hoping that people see it. I'm hoping that people are listening. I'm hoping that people are, reading the things that I post. But it's not the same thing as gathering in a group and working together. And that's what the author was trying to convey to folks, is that we need to look for ways that we can, again, gather together and build things. And the most important thing when you're working on a project, when you're building something, is to overcome your disagreements. There's never been one group project that didn't have something that you had to debate and somebody had to maybe compromise on or discuss different ways of getting things done. That is meaningful engagement. It relies on face-to-face conversations. It depends on an agreed set of facts. And we seem to have the opposite of that right now, that instead of having that meaningful engagement, there's a lot of meaningless engagement. Congressman Derek Van Orden is the poster child for meaningless engagement right now. He's engaged on social media, but it's always insults or name calling, belittling others, or spreading misinformation about something. There isn't sufficient discussion and compromise on the kinds of things that need to be done. And there is definitely not shared agreement on a set of facts. Like we just covered with Melissa Baldoff in our climate check segment, you have now a White House that is preparing its own alternate facts and clinging to them the way a reporter clings to a lamppost in a hurricane. And in a hurricane of facts and science that are out there, these folks are clinging to the light post of their own building of the alternative facts that are there. And it's to our own detriment when we're not working together. Here's Alicia putting up on YouTube. I'm loving my time in the DAV, Disabled American Vets. People getting together is so good for your health. And it very much is. So the author of Bowling Alone, and again, this book was written in 2000, has this excerpt that I wanted to share. I challenge America's journalists, internet gurus, and media moguls, along with viewers like you and me. Let us find ways to ensure that by 2010, again, remember the book was written in 2000. Let us find ways to ensure that by 2010, Americans will spend less leisure time sitting passively alone in front of glowing screens and more time in active connection with our fellow citizens. Let us foster new forms of electronic entertainment and communication that reinforce community engagement rather than forestalling it. The recent flurry of interest in civic journalism, he writes, could be one strand to this strategy if it is interpreted not as a substitute for genuine grassroots participation, but as a soapbox for such participation. The extraordinary power of television can encourage as well as discourage civic involvement. Let us challenge those talented people who preside over America's entertainment industry to create new forms of entertainment that draw the viewer off the couch and into the community. Well, how'd we do? In the time since then, there have already been some toxic comments put up on the comment sections over at the Up North News Facebook page, because that's how it works now. We've got people who are proud trolls sitting in front of their glowing screens who need to get out and, as the kids say, touch grass. Now, here's the thing. When it says, when the author said back in 2000, let's foster new forms of electronic entertainment and communication that reinforce community engagement, well, that's civic media. That's Up North News. That's Courier Newsroom, and a whole host of other places as well, I hope, that are saying, hey, we're glad you're reading this. We're glad you're watching this. We're glad you're listening to this. But get out there into your community. We've highlighted so many different groups that are engaged in their community. They're either knocking on doors or they're making videos and other information that people will see on social media, or they're crafting talk shows on the radio or podcasts that remind people that we should still have a shared set of facts and that we actually all agree on some very common standards. We just have this impediment right now of politicians who don't understand that we collectively as a majority overwhelmingly support women's reproductive health rights and gun safety measures and fair maps and not suppressing voters, and on it goes. Now, the politicians that are impeding all that progress, they're still there. They still have money. They still have power. And they are counting on people to continue just doom scrolling and not increasing their civic engagement in the community. So even though we did not make that goal that the author laid out by 2010 to maybe spend less time sitting in front of our glowing screens, let's at least acknowledge that there are people that are trying to get more of us up off the couch, give you good information while you are reading, while you are listening, but then to step up and, again, get to know your neighbors, touch some of that grass, and bring a friend to the voting booth next time along as well. Coming up, we'll have some final news and notes from Lake Wissota, including a visit with James Kelly, civic media reporter here in the Chippewa Falls newsroom. That's all ahead, live from Lake Wissota, here on the Civic Media Radio Network. How's James Kelly today?
I'm good. Surprised to learn that you've never been in a bowling league.
Wow.
See?
Wow. Okay.
You got the bowling vibe, Pat. That's a good thing.
I guess I do. Yeah.
It is.
Yep. I know I've told the story on air before about last year sometime. Was it last year or the year before? Going bowling, either the daughters or the grandkids had the idea, let's all go bowling together. Okay, let's do it. And as I stood there with the ball, getting ready to go for the first time, a little voice in my head said, "What are you doing? You have no knees anymore. What are you going to do when you get up to the line?" And I could not have looked more like an old man going through the steps and then just swinging my arm with a bad shoulder and just letting this ball go so pathetically. And I'm sure that both my daughters were looking going, he used to be a pretty good bowler. He used to actually be able to bend his knees, move his shoulder. It's not there anymore. So there won't be any bowling leagues anymore, but there weren't any in the past either. Sadly. Now people are in their their cornhole leagues and things like that. Volleyball is still a thing. Look at Luke Mathers. He's a volleyball animal,
Yeah. I once played a cornhole game against the 2 top-ranked women in the world on 34th Street in Midtown Manhattan.
How'd that go?
Well, you would be surprised to learn that me and my partner lost.
I would not. No.
Yeah, no, we were doing some content with them, which was a lot of fun. But oh boy, Midtown Manhattan getting smoked like 21-3. That's not good.
Hey, you got 3. That's
true. I think they gave them to us.
Very nice. Let's see. Do I get your notes here? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yep. I think that let's try to end on a lighter note. So let me move Labor Fest down to the end here, if you don't mind.
Cool.
There we go. And do that. All right. So we'll start with Evers. All right. We'll get going in just under a minute here. Remember, you can follow Up North News on social media. We're now on Blue Sky as an alternative to Twitter, but we're still on Twitter as well. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the platforms where you'll find us. You'll find a lot of civic media programming there as well. And where there's civic media programming, there's civic media news. And where there is civic media news, there is James Kelly out there in Chippewa Falls in the newsroom there. James, how are you today?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good. Did you enjoy the long holiday weekend?
I did enjoy the long holiday weekend as much as I could. I did do some work on Monday, on Labor Day. I know I'm not supposed to, but it is what it is.
Yes. I mean, the Tuesday morning show didn't just happen.
Yeah.
There had to be something done on Monday for that as well. So, yep, completely understand. I was commenting yesterday on how Governor Tony Evers, right before J.D. Vance arrived in La Crosse late last week, the vice president, Tony Evers had ready a big breakdown of costs of the Trump mega bill. And what that told me was that Tony Evers is not going quietly. He's not like, well, I'm retired and now he's just going to phone it in. He's still making the rounds. The school year's getting going. And that included a stop in Altoona recently, right?
Yeah, he visited Altoona Elementary School yesterday and actually did say he was asked, are you going to back anyone in the next Democratic primary for governor? And said no at this point, but was asked, how important is it for those candidates to also be out here doing everything that you've done over the last 6 or so years where you are actually at schools and at these facilities? And he said that's where the real work gets done.
It's true. I mean, you can only do so much behind a desk in your office as a governor, as a legislator, whatever. You have to, again, get outside, and talk to people. And Evers has been doing that as part of a statewide tour for the first day of school, visiting places, listening to people, and then incorporating those things into your legislative agenda. It's basically how he keeps coming up with his state budget bill year after year, and he's continuing to do that now, even in his, coming up on his 8th and final year in office.
Yeah, he actually did also receive a presentation from the district about how they've increased their student achievement over the last 5 years with kind of new models, including having special education teachers just in the regular classroom with their students, so they're there all day. So, things that you could maybe take from this school and apply to other districts.
Exactly. Let's see. So let's talk about housing and affordable housing and the amount of housing stock that's in any given community. It is something that's talked about in many, if not most, communities in our state. Washburn County is no exception.
Yeah, they recently completed an 8-month survey of community housing needs and found, much like much of the Northwest region, that they need more workforce housing specifically. They're proposing creating 300 new market rate rental units in the county, or 250 modest first-time homebuyer type homes. They have open jobs there. They just don't have the places for people to live to take those jobs, which is unfortunately becoming increasingly common in this region.
Well, it really is. And it is an economic development issue, which is why you see the business community in many of these hometowns inserting themselves into the issue and trying to be helpful in some way, shape, or form. Up in Burnett County now, as we continue our review of some Northwest Wisconsin headlines, Burnett County is certainly no stranger to the online dangers that are out there to the young residents of their community. What are they talking about up there?
Yeah, they'll be hosting a panel next Wednesday from 5:30 to 6:15 at the Siren Schools Auditorium. It's going to involve some law enforcement officials and some parents whose children have actually been victimized by online schemes, including Brittany Bird, whose son Braden became the namesake for Braden's Law, which increased penalties for people convicted of sextortion leading to suicide. So it'll be an informational session trying to give parents a lot of the tools they need to identify when their children might be targeted by an online threat and what to do next.
All right. And then last but not least here, of course, we did have Labor Day, which in Eau Claire means Labor Fest over at Phoenix Park. Once again, some good attendance there.
Yeah, over 200 people for this event. Chippewa Valley Indivisible helped organize it and did kind of a head count. State Senator Jeff Smith actually mentioned that the turnout was really good this year compared to when they first started doing it at Phoenix Park in 2011 after Act 10 was passed into law. It kind of dwindled over the years. Attendance-wise, people didn't really feel like they were making a difference. But this year, there were certainly a lot more people out there. They also had Wisconsin State AFL-CIO President Stephanie Bloomingdale give a speech, and she kind of described wealth inequality in a way I think relates to all Wisconsinites, which was imagine 100 people coming to a cookout with one brat for each person, but 10 people take 70 of those brats and 50 of the people have to share 3.
Well, if you're going to illustrate inequality, you could do worse than to pick brats as a symbol of that. That is quintessentially Wisconsin right there. Stephanie Bloomingdale, she knows how to frame an argument. And it's
especially with a barbecue happening just, 200, 300 feet away.
Exactly. I love it. James Kelly follows these stories and more for Civic Media out of our bureau in Chippewa Falls. James, thanks so much. Good to talk to you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Pat. Have a good one.
All right. A reminder that tomorrow on the program, we're going to be talking to Congressman Mark Pocan. Congress is back in session, and there is a lot going on already. There were members of Congress yesterday that were talking to some of the victims of Predator Jeffrey Epstein and their frustration with the investigation and the lack of progress toward justice, and to what degree the President of the United States might be an obstruction to that progress. There's the chance of a government shutdown. I know. Stop me if you've heard this before. There is the threat of a government shutdown at the end of this month because, once again, Republicans will not be able to pass a spending plan without Democratic votes. But of course, they're going to try to job as many Democrats as possible by putting things in that most Democrats simply would not, should not, could not support. So we'll talk to Congressman Pocan about his feelings on how things are shaping up there. We'll talk to Sean O'Malley about your money and the markets, and we'll visit with Joe Zepecki as well. plus our usual daily check-in with some of our civic media friends. They include Todd Alba and Chad Holmes as well. My thanks to Peggy Wirtz-Olsen for being one of our guests today. Also to Aunt Peg's nephew, Parker Olsen, for being here, and to meteorologist Brittany Merlot, and to you as well for being here this morning. I'm Pat Kreitlow, founding editor of Up North News. Up North News is the Wisconsin outlet for Courier, a pro-democracy news network. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you Thursday morning, bright and early, 6 a.m., right here, Up North.